Time now for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were 8-8 last season. Week 1, they are on the road to face the New York Giants, a team that will be improved this year with new head coach Joe Judge. But I have the Steelers winning this one. You got Mike Tomlin against a brand new head coach. I'm going to go with Mike Tomlin. Now the Steelers are home for 2 games against the Denver Broncos, who we anticipate being very good this season. But the Steelers keep it rolling, get a win over the Denver Broncos. They play host to the Houston Texans, another team that's kind of in flux from last season. I will take the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this one. They go on the road to face another AFC South team with the Tennessee Titans. The Titans snuck into the playoffs ahead of the Steelers last season, but I have the Steelers winning this game. And as a matter of fact, starting 5-0, because the next week they play host to the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that we expect to be in contention not only for the NFC East, but also for the Super Bowl. I will take the Steelers here on a roll right now, 5 consecutive wins. They play host to the Cleveland Browns, a team they dominated last year. At least they've been dominating for what seems like forever. This Cleveland Browns team is very good, and I think with the Steelers having the Baltimore Ravens the following week, they might overlook the Browns here, so we give the Browns the first win against the Steelers. I guess that's the Steelers' first loss of the year, but they go on the road to face the Baltimore Ravens, a team that swept them last year. The Steelers get a little bit of revenge here. They win and go into the bye week with just 1 loss. They come out of the bye week, go on the road to face the Dallas Cowboys and new head coach Mike McCarthy. I like the Cowboys to win this one. I think the Cowboys are going to be one of the top teams in the NFC, so I will give the Cowboys the victory. The Steelers come back home in Week 10 to face the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that I feel will be much improved. That's a win for the Steelers. On the road the following week in Week 11, to face my friends down in Duval County, Florida, a team that is in current rebuilding mode. They've made a lot of changes during the offseason. The Steelers will get a win there. Week 12, even though the Steelers could have been looking ahead, that is a trap game for the Steelers, but in Week 12, they play host to the Baltimore Ravens this time. I have the Steelers winning this game, and you might think, well, these teams are always so even, but realize in 3 out of the last 5 years, one team has swept the season series. So I expect the Steelers to keep that trend going with the win here against the Ravens. They could be looking ahead. They could be coming off a high a little bit, but they still have enough to beat the Washington Redskins in Week 13. They avoid the trap game against the Washington Redskins, but go on the road to face the Buffalo Bills. The Bills should be in a dogfight for the AFC East title. I say the Bills get the win here and hand the Steelers their third, probably their final loss of the season, because the following week, they're at Cincinnati. They win that game. They play host to the Indianapolis Colts, who have a lot of good pieces. They look really good. I'm enthused about this Colts team, but I have the Steelers winning that one. And then Week 17, Steelers, Browns, playoffs on the line for the Cleveland Browns. I think we know how this story goes. The Death Star always blows up. Steelers always beat the Browns. So the one reason I really love the Steelers this year, even though they scuffled last year to an 8-8 mark, they were 5th in total defense. They were 1st in sacks. TJ Watt is becoming a defensive superstar. He's going to surpass his brother at some point. They have the easiest schedule down the stretch. Their final 8 games is deemed the easiest based on last year's record, so don't put too much stock in that. But still, they got the easiest stretch of games. But the thing is that the Steelers were 30th in total offense last year. The only thing is, Ben Roethlisberger wasn't playing. You had Devlin Hodges, you had Mason Rudolph. If Ben Roethlisberger comes back to be the quarterback that we think he's going to be, and with some improvements on the offensive line, I know they brought in Wisniewski, that should help out immensely. This Steelers team should be dominant. Winning 8 games with that quarterback combination last year should be viewed the same way as the Ravens winning 14. So there's no doubt in my mind that if the Steelers are healthy, if Ben Roethlisberger is healthy and ready to go, they are going to be 13-3, first in the AFC North, and the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. Time now for the Cleveland Browns, one of the darlings of 2019, but stumbled to a 6-10 record. This year, they open on the road against the Baltimore Ravens, a tough task for first-year head coach Kevin Stefanski. Feel like the Browns are going to take a loss in that one, but it's cool because in Week 2, The home opener, Browns playing host to their in-state rival, the Cincinnati Bengals. And even though Joe Burrow should make that team much better, the Browns are going to escape with a win there. Week 3, they play the Washington Redskins, led by Ron Rivera this season. Chase Young returns to Ohio, but is given a loss as the Browns are victorious, improving to 2-1. Week 4, the Browns go on the road to face the Dallas Cowboys. That is a very tough team with first-year head coach Mike McCarthy. The Cowboys get over there. The Browns come home in Week 5 to play the Indianapolis Colts, a team with a new quarterback, Phillip Rivers. They got Jonathan Taylor. They got Michael Pittman Jr. The Indianapolis Colts take that one, but the Browns level up in Week 6, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, an opportunity for them to kind of get some revenge for last season. I think a lot of people anticipated the Browns being much better, myself included, but now you're 3-3 with the win over the Steelers. Unfortunately, the hangover of Week 6 leads the Browns to lose in Week 7 against the Cincinnati Bengals. The following week, the Las Vegas Raiders make the trip to Cleveland, and the Browns get a win in this one and go into the bye week, and they end up winning another game in Week 10 against the Houston Texans, a team that I feel is going to be struggling with their identity this year, so the Browns get a win against them. Week 11, the Browns play host to the Philadelphia Eagles. A great game, a great opportunity to prove themselves, but the Eagles are much too much for them. The Eagles get a win there, but the following week in Week 12, the Browns go on the road, defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Week 13, they're on the road again to face another AFC South opponent, this time the Tennessee Titans. The Titans will emerge victorious in that one because the Browns are looking ahead to their Week 14 matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. Week 1, they drop the game. Here, they turn it around, they get over on the Baltimore Ravens, and you think like, yes, this is it, Cleveland, except you go on the road to New York, lose to the Giants, a team that should be vastly improved with quarterback Daniel Jones this year. The Browns will beat the Jets in Week 16, but unfortunately, Week 17, with a chance to make the playoffs, you drop a game to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which would have gotten you in with a 9-7 record because of the head-to-head with the Las Vegas Raiders and the win over them earlier in the year. But unfortunately, Kevin Stefanski, this team is going to be much better. The offensive line, Jack Conklin's better. They did well in the draft. Almost there. 8-8. Not a terrible record, not a terrible mark for them perhaps next season, but this Browns team is going to be much improved. Time now for the Cincinnati Bengals, who had the first overall selection in the 2020 draft. Took Joe Burrow. Week 1, they play host to the Los Angeles Chargers, and they're going to come out with a win. I think Joe Burrow is one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks to enter the NFL in quite some time. So the Bengals feeling pretty good about themselves, 1-0. They go on the road to the Cleveland Browns, a team that I think is going to be much better because of their improvements on the offensive line. The Browns take that one. The Bengals get another tough game in Week 3. They're on the road in Philadelphia. The Eagles are much too tough for them. Carson Wentz, that team should be a lot better than their 9-7 mark last year, so the Eagles get the win there. Week 4, the Bengals play host to the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that is rebuilding right now. They traded away a lot of their defensive standouts. They've got some issues on the offensive line. The Bengals win this game, improved to 2-2. Week 5, on the road at Baltimore. Let's be realistic. The Ravens are going to win this one. Perhaps it could be a trap game for the Ravens, but I still like Baltimore in that one. Week 6, the Bengals have another tough matchup. This is a tough schedule, tough little stretch for them. They go up against the Indianapolis Colts with Phillip Rivers. Got the Colts winning that one. The Bengals at home, playing their in-state rivals, the Cleveland Browns, get their 3rd win of the season. The Bengals already surpassed last year's win total with a win over the Cleveland Browns. And the week before the bye, they got the Tennessee Titans, a team that made it all the way to the AFC Championship game last year. The Titans take that one. Then it's on to the bye week. They return in Week 10 on the road at Pittsburgh. The Steelers will handle them. But Week 11, the Bengals again on the road, this time in our nation's capital, facing Ron Rivera and the Washington Redskins. The Bengals are going to take this one. I think this Bengals team, drafting T. Higgins and surrounding him with so much talent, I think that this is going to be a good opportunity. I think this Bengals team is going to score a lot more than they did last year. Now, they had 14 games last year with fewer than 25 points. That's not going to be a problem this year. Week 12, The Bengals lose at the Giants. They go on the road in Week 13, where they'll probably lose to the Miami Dolphins, who will be scuffling along. And then another tough stretch for the Bengals. They play host to the Cowboys. We got Dallas winning that one. They got the Steelers coming in the following week. The Steelers take that one. You go on the road in Week 16 to face the Houston Texans. They're going to be a little bit too much for you. And then Week 17, a chance to play spoiler a little bit, but probably not. The Ravens take the season series with the win over the Cincinnati Bengals. I feel like you'll be much improved. 4-12 is doubling your win total. Maybe it's 8 wins next year. Next up, it's the Baltimore Ravens, the number 1 seed in the AFC in 2019 with a 14-2 record. They open up with the Cleveland Browns. They win this game. We love the Browns this season. I think they made a lot of improvements, and the Browns are going to make a run. The Ravens are still just way too tough. The Ravens go on the road to face the Houston Texans in Week 2. I think the Houston Texans are a team that are in flux, and I think with all the changes that the Ravens have made, especially in offense, if they go out there and they face a team that struggled defensively last year, get a road win, even though they could be looking ahead to this Week 3 matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. This was the AFC Championship game that a lot of us expected to be there. Unfortunately, the Ravens were knocked out of the playoffs. This is an opportunity to see these two teams in probably one of the great quarterback matchups for the next decade. Lamar Jackson against Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to give the Baltimore Ravens the win here at home. The following week, they're in DC. This could definitely be a trap game. I just think the Ravens still have too much. If there is one game where they're possibly going to get tripped up, this could be it. Still have them beating the Washington Redskins. Week 5, they play host to the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. We like that team offensively. I think they're going to be very fun to watch this year. But again, the Ravens are just going to keep it together. Still trying to grind out after what happened last season. They will take this win. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Week 6, they're on the road to play the Philadelphia Eagles. Love this Eagles team. Love a lot of the upgrades that they made this offseason. Looking ahead to that Pittsburgh Steelers game, I'm going to give the Ravens their first loss of the season here. They're 5-1. There's nothing to sneeze at. Although the following week, you're playing host to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have a little bit of revenge. And last year, the Ravens swept the season series. The Steelers, little chagrin, have that great defense, come into Baltimore and get the victory. And then they go on to the bye week. As a matter of fact, I still have the Ravens reeling just a little bit here as they come out of the bye week, get the loss at Indianapolis, a team that I absolutely love this year. But you know what? It's okay, because in Week 10, Ravens, Patriots. John Harbaugh has had a lot of great success against Bill Belichick over the years. This is an opportunity right there. The Ravens and their little 2-game losing streak get a win over the New England Patriots. They're home the following week, and they could be, perhaps, because that was a Sunday night game, but they will play host to the Tennessee Titans. I think they get the victory there, even though on Thursday night, they got to go back and they got to play those Pittsburgh Steelers. I have the Steelers taking this one, and I think the Steelers will go out and win. And I know a lot of you, and if you don't follow this closely, you might be like, that's unheard of. These teams are going to split. Well, actually, 3 out of the last 5 years, one team has swept the season series. Last year, it was the Baltimore Ravens. This year is going to be the Steelers' year. But you know what? They come back the following week. You got 10 days of rest, playing host to the Dallas Cowboys, a team that we like in the NFC, but the Ravens get over in this one. Go on the road in Week 14 to play the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have made a lot. They lost in Week 1, but the Cleveland Browns will get over on the Ravens in this one. Love what the Browns have done this year on the offensive line. They brought in Austin Hooper as well. That's a much improved club. Week 15, the Jags come to town. The Jags are in rebuilding mode. They got a lot of changes. Calais Campbell, revenge game. We give this one to the Ravens. The Giants also come to town. Like this Giants team an awful lot. Joe Judge in his first year as the head coach, but not enough to take on the Baltimore Ravens. After a 2-game homestand, the Ravens close out the season looking for a playoff spot here. They play the Cincinnati Bengals. They beat them. They go 11-5. They're back in the playoffs. And I know you might take this as a little bit of a disrespect. You're like, our team was 14-2 last year. How are you giving us just 11 wins? Remember, a couple of years ago, The Kansas City Chiefs were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They lost in the AFC title game. Came back last year with a 12-4 record. Wasn't quite as dynamic. Still ended up winning the Super Bowl. I think that's the recipe for the Ravens this year. Time now for the Houston Texans, who finished 10-6 last year and won the AFC South. They open up on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs, the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And as a matter of fact, the Texans blew a huge lead in that game. And I wonder if that's going to have a little bit of effect moving forward this season, because you open with the Chiefs. I like Kansas City. I like the defending champions to win on that opening Thursday night in a celebration of a long-awaited Super Bowl. Then you got the Baltimore Ravens coming to town. They're doing you no favors because you play the Super Bowl champions. Then you got to play last year's number 1 seed. I have the Ravens winning that one as well. And the Steelers, you go on the road to face them in week 3. You're 0-3 as you drop another one. But here's an opportunity for the Texans to get right. You play host to the Minnesota Vikings. You should win that one. The Minnesota Vikings going through a lot of changes, a lot of new faces there. So that's an opportunity for the Texans. Week 5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a game you should win. The Jags are, again, we use this term a lot, a team in transition. A lot of new faces on the defense for the Jags. And even though there are some new faces for the Houston Texans, I have them winning that one. You go on the road, though, in week 6 against the Tennessee Titans. This is where the Titans will start to roll a little bit. They struggled early in the season, but now the Titans knock you off. And you come into week 7, you're playing the Green Bay Packers, but you get a win there. You got 3 wins. You're 3-4 in front of the bye, but the following week you come out of the bye. You got to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. They get you in that one. They'll play you very tough down there in Duval. The following week, you got to play the Cleveland Browns on the road. I feel like that's another loss. The Patriots in week 11, a team that has kind of dominated you over the years. The New England Patriots get the victory here. I think the New England Patriots are actually going to be pretty good this season. I know everybody's expecting them to fall off the table because they don't have Tom Brady, but I expect the Patriots to win that one. And at some point, you start feeling, well, maybe we shouldn't have traded DeAndre Hopkins and Jadeveon Clowney and used a first-round pick on guys like Laramie Tunsil and players like that. And so now this is a season of miss. The Lions get you in week 12. You do find some pride after losing to the Lions in week 13 to get a win over the Indianapolis Colts. This is a prideful team. This is a team that has Deshaun Watson. And speaking of Deshaun Watson, week 14, he goes on the road to play the Chicago Bears. Now, I think normally the Bears should win this game. Deshaun Watson recently made a huge statement saying the Bears never talked to him in front of the draft. He is going to go out there in a Deshaun Watson revenge game and make them pay for passing on him in the draft. But that's it. In week 15, we got the Colts beating the Texans beating the Bengals in week 16. And with the Titans playing for a possible playoff berth, I have the Titans defeating the Texans in week 17. A lot of question marks with this Houston team. They've been very good for a long time, but you just don't trade DeAndre Hopkins and try to replace him with Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb. Like, what are you doing, Houston? You should have kept one of the best receivers in the game. I think that's going to affect you negatively this season. I got you at 6-10. Time now for my friends down in Duval County, Florida. The Jacksonville Jaguars coming off a 6-10 season. A team that is in a clear rebuilding mode, but they do have Gardner Minshew. What does that mean for the season? Well, in week 1, you open at home against the Indianapolis Colts, but last year you had that week 1 game against the Chiefs. I thought you could do something. You dropped it. You're going to drop this one too. Week 2, then you're on the road to go face the Tennessee Titans, a team that made kind of a miracle run to the AFC title game last year. But the Titans still have some pretty good pieces. I expect them to win that game. You're at home in week 3 against the Miami Dolphins. I don't believe that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be playing in this one. Ryan Fitzpatrick should still be enough, so I have the Dolphins winning there. Another winnable game in week 4 going up against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. The thing is this Bengals team is actually a little bit better compared to last season with their quarterback, so I have the Bengals winning that one. To make matters worse, you got the Texans on the road in week 5. I hate this. An 0-5 start for my friends down there. That's going to be tough, but here's the good news. Week 6, play host to the Detroit Lions. That is a definite winnable game. The Jags get their first win of the season. You go on to the bye week, you start to feel like, okay, maybe we can make a little bit of a run like the Titans. You're on the road in Los Angeles against the Chargers, a winnable game. You drop it. So I feel like that might be the end of Doug Marrone. I don't know if I can say that, but there could be some changes here. And then the following week, Week 9 against the Houston Texans, I say you win that one. Listen, this is a prideful team. There is some talent on this Jags team. You get a win over the Texans. Then you're on the road against the Green Bay Packers in Week 10. The weather's starting to turn a little bit. The Packers could be in the mix for a playoff berth in the NFC, so I have the Packers winning that one. Then it comes kind of another tough stretch. You go from the Packers, then you're at home against the Steelers. The Steelers are my number one team in the AFC. I have them taking that game. I have the Browns as a much improved club this season with Jack Conklin and some other, Austin Hooper. They did a nice job, especially with Kevin Stefanski as the head coach. So the Jags lose that one. You go on the road to play the Minnesota Vikings, and I don't think the Vikings are that good of a team, but I will give it to the home club in that one. You're home in Week 14 against the Tennessee Titans. You know you can play spoiler against the hated Titans, so you do it. Then the following week against the Baltimore Ravens, you take the loss there. You play host to the Chicago Bears in Week 16. I have the Bears making the playoffs this season. I know, surprise, surprise. But I think that's a win for the Monsters of the Midway. And in Week 17, Indianapolis Colts, playing for playoff seeding, end up getting the win. The good news, though, 3-13, that's unfortunate. But you would end up having the number one overall selection in the NFL draft. I don't know if I can say Trevor Lawrence's name. Perhaps, maybe you would trade Gardner Minshew off. Whatever you would do. Unfortunately, it seems because of so many changes, there have been a lot of great players traded away, especially on the defensive side of the football. Plus, we don't know what's going to happen with Leonard Fournette. Could he be dealt during the middle of the season? All of that, not great, except, you know what? AEW is still my favorite wrestling promotion, so you got that going for you, as well as a 3-13 record. Time now for the Indianapolis Colts, a team that finished 7-9 last year, but a lot of new faces should change that record this season. Week 1, new quarterback Philip Rivers leads his Colts on the road to my friends down in Duval County, Florida, and gets the victory. The following week, the Colts are back home playing the Minnesota Vikings, who have had a lot of changes. And it's going to be tough for these teams who don't have a lot of cohesion with a lot of new players to really get up to speed. The one advantage that a guy like Philip Rivers has is that he's got Frank Reich, a guy that he played with previously. So the Colts get a win over the Vikings. They host the Jets in Week 3. I would anticipate them getting a victory there. On the road in Chicago in Week 4, I'm going to give the Bears the victory in that one. Before the Colts play their second consecutive road game in Week 5, taking on the Cleveland Browns. This is going to be a tough one. We like the Browns a lot this year. They've improved, especially on the offensive line. This is going to be one that has heavy playoff implications, but we have the Colts walking away with this one. And then the following week, as they play host to the Cincinnati Bengals, get a victory there. So they're 5-1. Headed into the bye week, feeling pretty good about themselves, but unfortunately, a little bit of a slip up. The Colts are on the road facing the Detroit Lions, and normally you would think the Colts handle the Lions, but the Colts have a game against the Ravens in Week 9, so I have them slipping up against the Lions, looking ahead to the Ravens, winning that game. And even though the Colts have won 4 out of their last 5 in Tennessee, because it's a Thursday night game, coming off that win against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 9, the Colts stumble in Week 10 against the Tennessee Titans. The Colts return home with that extra rest to play the Packers, beat them. The Titans come back for the second time in 3 weeks, and the Colts get their revenge this time as they defeat the Tennessee Titans. That's huge for playoff priority here. Now the Colts go on the road for a couple where they lose to the Houston Texans. They lose to the Las Vegas Raiders. Week 15, pivotal game. The Colts take on the Texans, defeat them. Like what Philip Rivers is going to be able to do. But in Week 16, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, we love the Steelers this season. They were 8-8 a year ago, but now they got Ben Roethlisberger back. A lot of things going in their favor, so I see them dropping that one. But Week 17, they finish off with a 10-6 mark, defeating the Jacksonville Jaguars. This Colts team has got a lot of talent. I think Philip Rivers is going to bring something special. Michael Pittman was a great selection, and Jonathan Taylor, If he can work himself into the rotation early, this could be a dominant offensive team. Time now for the Tennessee Titans, a team that finished 9-7 once again in 2019, but did make a miracle run to the AFC title game. What's in store this year? Well, they open on the road in week 1 at Denver on Monday Night Football. We love Drew Lock. We love what the Denver Broncos have this season, so I have the Titans dropping that game. They're home the following week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that is in a state of flux. They got rid of a lot of defensive players from last year, or the last couple of years. So the Titans should be able to handle them, but the Titans go back out on the road, and they got to go face the Minnesota Vikings, another team that has a lot of transitional parts, still trying to find themselves, but I like the Vikings to take that one. The Titans are back home for 2 back-to-back tough games against the Steelers, who I have as the number 1 seed in the AFC this year. So I have the Steelers winning this one. The Buffalo Bills, who were in the playoffs last year with 10 wins, got Stephon Diggs in the offseason. I have the Bills winning that one as well. So now you look at the Titans. They've started off 1-4, similar to last year when they were 2-4. And speaking of which, they're 2-4 with the win over the Houston Texans, and now they're 2-4 going into the bye week. Historically, the Titans are very good after the bye week. They've won their last 4 games after the bye. They got the Cincinnati Bengals. They should be able to handle them. So they move on. They play host to the Chicago Bears. That is a game that they should win. Week 10, the Colts possibly looking ahead. They've got some other things on their mind. The Titans win that game. So now, similar to last season, the Titans are on a little bit of a run here. Perhaps that Ryan Tannehill magic is working itself once again, but in week 11, you got to go on the road. You got to play the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are much too tough. They're a better team. I understand last year the Titans were the team that knocked the Ravens out of the playoffs. That's kind of why they're going to be ready for you in this one. I have the Ravens winning in week 11. Week 12 should be another tough one as you're on the road facing your inter-division rivals, the Indianapolis Colts with Phillip Rivers. I got Rivers and company taking that one. Week 13, this is going to be an important game as you guys are jockeying for playoff position. The Cleveland Browns, much improved with head coach Kevin Stefanski, but the Titans should have enough to win that game, except you go on the road. The following week, the Jacksonville Jaguars, probably not going to have a lot of success, but this is a big rivalry game. I'm bummed that this one is not on Thursday night. I have my friends down in Duval County winning that game, but you know what? You put it all together. You beat the Lions in week 15. You go on the road to face the Green Bay Packers in week 16. Drop that one. And then finally, against the Houston Texans with a chance to level up, you beat the Texans. You finish 8-8. You're just outside of the playoffs. I know a lot of people, you kind of romanticize what happened at the end of last year, but you're expecting Ryan Tannehill to continue to play at that level. You've given Derrick Henry way too many carries over the last couple of years. This seems like an optimistic prediction for me, but I have the Titans at 8-8. Time now for the New York Jets, a team that surprisingly finished 7-9 last season. What's in store for this year? Week 1, on the road against the Buffalo Bills, a team many expect to win the AFC East. Not me, but many. But I still have the Bills winning that game. Week 2, you play host to the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Shanahan against Adam Gase. 49ers win that one. Week 3, on the road to face the Indianapolis Colts, a team that's got Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. They already have Marlon Mack and T.Y. Hilton. That's a good team. Colts win that one. And now, week 4, you're back home. You're playing the Denver Broncos. One of the teams, like the Jets, who finished very strong last year, but I have a lot of faith in the Broncos. I see the Jets starting this season at 0-4. Week 5, though, you got the Arizona Cardinals making that cross-country trek. The Jets get their first win of the season over the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. The following week, you're on the road going to the West Coast to play the LA Chargers. That should be a winnable game for the Jets. Got them up at 2-4, but now you're back at home. You're playing the Buffalo Bills. Any chance to get back into the AFC East is going to take a huge hit here. The Buffalo Bills, I have them sweeping the season series, beating the Jets. Then you're on the road the following week to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I would have the Chiefs winning that one, the defending Super Bowl champions. The following week, at home, Monday Night Football against Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Primetime game, Patriots, Jets. Of course, the New England Patriots take that one. The following week, you're on the road again. Another primetime game, this time against the Miami Dolphins. This is actually a very losable game. I have the Dolphins taking that one as well. The short week, the trip down to Miami. Then you go into the bye week. Is Adam Gase still going to be the coach? We don't know. But week 12, Jets play the Dolphins again. You get the victory. You got the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that we really like coming into the season. But again, these West Coast teams or West Coast adjacent teams coming to the East Coast, I will give the Jets the benefit of the doubt here. I will not give you the benefit of the doubt going across the country to play the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know if they're going to stay on the West Coast or if they're going to fly back. But you got the LA Rams, another cross-country trip. That is going to be a loss. You got the Browns. The season's starting to snowball. It's starting to get out of control. I got the Browns winning there. I got the Patriots winning in Week 17. Now, I know a lot of Jets fans will be upset. They'll be like, we won 7 games last year. Yeah, it's very similar to Adam Gase's first year in Miami. Wins 10 games. He hasn't won more than 7 games since that time. And as a matter of fact, if you take that first year in Miami and throw it out, Adam Gase's overall record is 20-28. So I love what the Jets did during the offseason. I love the moves on the offensive line. I thought they drafted really well. Getting Mekhi Becton was great. Denzel Mims is a stud. My biggest question is the coach. Is this the right coach to lead this team? I have my doubts. I have the Jets at 4-12. Time now for the New England Patriots, who went 12-4 last season, but one major change. James Devlin retired. Oh yeah, also, Tom Brady no longer the quarterback. It has been quite some time. I will say that in the 2 years since 2000, where Tom Brady has not started the season as the opening quarterback, the Patriots have gone on to win the Super Bowl. Just putting that out there. Now in week 1, the New England Patriots are playing host to the Miami Dolphins, the team that sent them down the road to ruin in the playoffs by losing to them in Week 17 last year. You know that Bill Belichick is not going to allow that to happen again. I have the Patriots opening with the victory, but they go on the road to face the Seattle Seahawks. They are going to end up losing that one. Pete Carroll, again, a Patriots revenge game. Seahawks win that one. You level up, but you're playing host to the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 3. Jarrett Stidham starting to get on a little bit of a roll. You win that one, but again, this is going to be an uneven start for the Patriots because you go on the road to face the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. We got the Chiefs winning that one. And another tough game, the Denver Broncos, one of the surprise teams for this season, will come in to Foxborough and get the victory. The Patriots will be 2-3 heading into the bye week, and then they have to play host to the San Francisco 49ers, a team that will be ready for them. I have the 49ers winning this game. I have the Patriots again losing to the Buffalo Bills in Week 8, and you're starting to think everybody is now writing off the New England Patriots. It's over. It was all Tom Brady. They made a mistake. They got too cocky, but they get a win over the Jets on Monday night in Week 9. You're like, okay. They lose to the Ravens in Week 10, and that's it. There's no way that they can overcome this. Not now. Their season's over, but let's take a look at the schedule. Down the stretch, you got the Houston Texans on the road in Week 11. That is a Patriots win. Week 12, playing host to the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, that's going to be a victory. Bill Belichick. You know what? If you looked at Bill Belichick's house and you looked at Cliff Kingsbury's house, very different, but the coaching styles also very different. I'm going to go with Bill Belichick. They go on the road to Los Angeles for back-to-back games. And normally for any other team, I would say that you split those, but they play the Chargers on Sunday night. New England handles their business. And then on short notice, Thursday night game against Sean McVay and the LA Rams. I say the Patriots win that one as well. They sweep the LA road trip. I mean, we remember what happened when Bill Belichick, last time he faced Sean McVay, especially in a Super Bowl, in a primetime affair. So you're like, all right, the Patriots are back doing Patriot things. Yeah, one of those Patriot things, losing on the road in Miami like they will in Week 15, but that's okay. They got The Buffalo Bills at home, week 16. This is going to be a tough one. An opportunity for the Bills to make that final push. New England beats them. New England ends up beating the Jets in week 17 as well. And I have the New England Patriots at 9-7 winning the AFC East. Listen, I know that everybody's looking at this division. They're like, this is time. And even though they're likely to start Jarrett Stidham, when you look at that division, you see Adam Gase, you see Josh Allen, you see Ryan Fitzpatrick, all those guys. I still don't believe that any team is ready to topple the New England Patriots at this point. 9-7, first place in the AFC East. Time now for the Miami Dolphins, who finished 5-11 last year. One of those wins came in week 17 against the New England Patriots, a team that they are playing here again in New England in week 1. Unfortunately for Dolphins fans, not going to turn out the way it did last year. I have New England winning this one, but you come home to face the Buffalo Bills. The Bills think that they're just going to take this division. You're not putting up with that nonsense. I got the Dolphins winning a tough game here, and they go on the road, just up the coast a little bit, to face my friends down in Duval County, Florida. You play the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team in flux right now, trying to find their way, trying to find their identity. I got the Dolphins winning that one. As a matter of fact, you come home the following week, in week 4. I have the Seattle Seahawks as one of the best teams in the NFC, but they always have these weird, inexplicable losses. One of those is going to be to a team coached by Brian Flores, the Miami Dolphins. I have you guys starting 3-1 with a win over the Seattle Seahawks. The following week, though, you got to fly across the country to play the San Francisco 49ers, one of the top teams in the NFC. That's a tough task. I got the 49ers winning that one. Then you got to follow it up by playing the Denver Broncos, a team that is much improved over last season. I got the Broncos winning the home game, back-to-back road games to San Francisco, to Denver. That's a lot of mileage. So when you come back home and you play the LA Chargers in week 7, this is a definite winnable game. And if the Dolphins did win this one, it wouldn't surprise me. I do have the LA Chargers winning this one, but in week 8, another LA team is coming to town. This time I have you beating the LA Rams as they're making the cross-country trek to face the Dolphins. Listen, New England's got a history. This coaching staff has a history of shutting down Sean McVay. I think they have the playbook on how to get it done. Week 9, and this is tough for the Dolphins. Crisscrossing across the country. You go and you play the Arizona Cardinals, a team with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, could this be Kyler Murray versus Tua Tagovailoa? I would love for that to be the case. I got the Cardinals winning this one. Week 10, Dolphins come home. They're playing the New York Jets, a team that they play pretty well at home. So I got the Dolphins winning that one, going into their bye week. Then they play the Jets again. This time it's on the road. Ryan Fitzpatrick going back to New York, but I got the Jets winning that game. But the Dolphins play host to the Cincinnati Bengals in week 13. That should be a victory. Week 14, the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, coming back to the stadium where they won the Super Bowl once again, win. This time, not for the Lombardi Trophy, just for a regular season victory there in week 14. Week 15, here come the New England Patriots. Even though Tom Brady is no longer a member of the New England Patriots, some things still stay the same, like the Dolphins' mastery over the Patriots in Miami. Then you go on the road to face the Las Vegas Raiders. I say they get a win over you in that one. Then the Dolphins trying to play spoiler, perhaps keeping the Bills out of the playoffs. You drop one on the road against the Buffalo Bills. When you look at this Dolphins team, 7-9 would be a 2-win improvement over what happened last season. And when you look at Tua Tagovailoa, when you look at Austin Jackson, and some of the moves that you guys made over the past couple of years to put you in this position, this Dolphins team is set up for a huge run in 2021. But this year, 7-9 for you guys. Time now for the Buffalo Bills, who last year finished 10-6, had the 26th passing offense, have now brought in Stephon Diggs. What does that mean? Well, in week 1, they open up with the New York Jets at home, a game that they should certainly win against Adam Gase. Week 2, on the road to face the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to go with the home team in this one as they kind of split that opening sequence. And then the Bills come home to play the Los Angeles Rams in week 3. a winnable game. The Rams are a team in flux this season, and I do believe the Rams will end up taking that one. You know, if this was week 14, the Rams coming from the West Coast to play in Buffalo, probably a different story. The Rams benefit from this being so early in the year. And the Bills are on the road the following week to play the Las Vegas Raiders. I like the Raiders as an improving club this year. They made a lot of nice changes, and I think that this team has been building for this. I think the Raiders win that game. So now the Bills are scuffling along a little bit. They're 1-3. A team that was expected to win the AFC East, they start to put it together here. They're playing the Tennessee Titans. I think they take that one. I think they're just a better team than the Tennessee Titans. They win that one. Week 6. They're playing host to the defending champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. They find a way to get a victory there. Kansas City, like the Chiefs this year, I have the Chiefs as a playoff team, but the Bills starting to put it together. Level up at 3-3 with the win over the Chiefs here, and they win on the road against the New York Jets, which could have been a trap game for them because the following week, they are playing the New England Patriots. And so if there was a game where the Bills are going to get trapped, perhaps they lose that game in week 7 to the New York Jets. But I think with Sean McDermott, they keep their focus. They put everything into this week 8 game against the New England Patriots. It's time to make a statement, and the Bills do just that. Get the victory. The early season skid is a thing of the past. They got a victory over the Patriots in week 8, but the Seahawks come to town the following week, get a victory there. But the Bills, before the bye week, they get a win over the Arizona Cardinals on the road. The Bills were very good on the road last year. 6 road wins for the Bills. After a week 11 bye, the Bills are going to play host to the Los Angeles Chargers. They get a win there. On the road the following week in week 13 to play the San Francisco 49ers. I can't expect the Bills to go cross country and beat Kyle Shanahan's club. The following week, though, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, my number 1 seed in the AFC, but the Bills hold serve here at home. They need this game. This is a must-win for them to keep their playoff hopes alive. They go on the road, though. They've got back-to-back road games against the Broncos and against the New England Patriots. I got the Broncos as one of the best teams in the AFC this year. They finished winning 4 of their last 5 last year with Drew Lock. I'm going to have the Broncos holding serve at home. The Bills with a chance to seal the division with the win over the New England Patriots. I think that still, despite Tom Brady not being the quarterback of the New England Patriots, still too much there. The Patriots end up splitting the season series with the Bills. The Bills win in week 17 to finish 9-7, but unfortunately, even in the extended playoff system of the NFL, that is not enough to get them into the postseason tournament. I like this Bills team. I think they made a lot of nice changes. I thought it was worth it, the trade for Stephon Diggs. But again, going back to those 6 road wins last year, that is going to be something that is going to be tough to replicate. I have them falling back to earth a little bit, being 3-5 on the road, and that is what's going to cost them a playoff berth this season. Time now for the Los Angeles Chargers, a team that finished 5-11 last year, and people thought that they were much better than that. What's in store for 2020? Well, they start on the road in Cincinnati. And I'm going to give Joe Burrow the victory here. I think Joe Burrow is one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks to come into the NFL in quite some time. I think he's better than Tyrod. I think he's better than Justin Herbert. So I'm going to give the Bengals the victory in week 1. Week 2, you're playing host to the defending Super Bowl champions. So the Kansas City Chiefs, I have them taking that one. Week 3, here come the Carolina Panthers. A game you probably should win, but I got a lot of confidence in Teddy Bridgewater. I think that, when you compare the quarterback situation, I think that the Chargers are making a huge error here. I think that first of all, I wouldn't let go of Phillip Rivers, but whatever. I think the Panthers just come out and they win this game. The following week, the Chargers are on the road playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, a lot of people thought Tom Brady might be coming to play for the LA Chargers. That did not happen. He stayed at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wins again with a victory over the Chargers. The following week, the Chargers go back out on the road. I don't know if they'll stay out there on the East Coast adjacent. They play the New Orleans Saints. So you got back-to-back weeks against the Buccaneers and the Saints. You know what? I got the Chargers dropping both of those games. I got them losing in week 6, a home game to the New York Jets. Sam Darnold coming back to town. Gets his sort of hometown. He's from San Clemente, so I don't know. Sort of his hometown. Chargers. So now the Chargers are 0-6. They're on the road to play the Miami Dolphins. I think they'll get their first victory of the season there on the road. As a matter of fact, they'll back it up with a win against another Florida team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They won on the road in Duval last year, so they get the win there. 2-game winning streak is ended by the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 9. They go on to the bye week, and this schedule gets even tougher after the bye week. You're on the road against the Denver Broncos. Drew Lock, a team that won 4 of their last 5 games last year with a top 12 defense. You lose to the Broncos. Chargers against the Bills. Bills last year, 10-6. Even though their offense wasn't great, they added Stephon Diggs. I got the Bills taking that one. The Patriots come to town. I still like the Patriots. I think people are going to underestimate the Patriots this season, even with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. I think the Patriots take that one. The Falcons, that's a loaded team. Again, they could have some problems because their deficiency is on the offensive line, which is where it's going to be the strength of the Chargers is the defense this year. But I have the Chargers dropping that one. I have the Raiders beating them in Week 15. I do have the Chargers pulling the upset against the Denver Broncos in Week 16 before losing in Week 17 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, I think if you want to draw some parallels between the Chargers of 2019 and the 49ers of 2018, you can make that comparison. The difference to me, though, is I thought that the 49ers were a lot better at the quarterback position. I think the Chargers are really taking a risk going with Tyrod Taylor. He's had his opportunities in the NFL before, has not been able to take advantage of them. Having Austin Eckler as a complementary piece with Melvin Gordon was great. I'm not sure with him as the number one guy if that is going to work out. Justin Herbert looked good in the Senior Bowl, played well in the Pac-12 championship game, but struggled against quality competition in college. I think there's a lot of questions on the offensive side of the football. Plus, you had an offensive line that was ranked 29th by Pro Football Focus. So as good as the defense is, I think it's too much to ask for them in this division to go out there and compete. That's why I have them at 3-13 in last place in the AFC West. Time now for the Las Vegas Raiders playing their first season in Sin City, but they open up on the road against the Carolina Panthers, and I got the Panthers winning this. I know it seems weird, Matt Rule, first time coaching in the NFL, but you know what? I think that the Panthers just catch them in this way. There's always that one inexplicable loss in Week 1. I've got the Panthers, Matt Rule, Teddy Bridgewater, these guys coming out ready to play, but it's okay. Week 2, the Raiders follow that up, though, as they play host to the New Orleans Saints and get a victory. Because if there is anything about the Raiders we know, it's like you lose a game, like a game to the Panthers, you follow it up with a huge win over a team like the New Orleans Saints. And let's be honest, there is not a lot of easy games in the early part of the season here for the Raiders, including in Week 3, going on the road to face the New England Patriots. Tom Brady, obviously not there, but still believe in Bill Belichick, still believe in the Patriot way. I have the Patriots winning that one, but the Raiders, again, in Week 4, playing host to the Buffalo Bills, a team that made the playoffs last year. They added Stephon Diggs, but the Raiders made a lot of good adjustments as well. I really like what the Raiders did. I thought that bringing in Henry Ruggs III, that's going to be huge. Corey Littleton was an underrated signing for them. So I have the Raiders going and beating the Bills. If you look at the first 4 games, Panthers, Saints, Patriots, Bills, if you think to yourself, the Raiders are going to start the season 2-2, and you could maybe move these games around, I think 2-2 is a reasonable expectation. Going into Week 5 on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs, this would be a huge statement win for the Raiders. I just don't think that they're there yet. Chiefs win. You go into the bye week. Week 7, you're playing host to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's a Sunday night game. The eyes of the football world are on you. John Gruden against his former team with the quarterback who knocked him out of the playoffs because of the tuck rule. John Gruden still does not find the humor in the tuck rule. If there was any game the Raiders are going to be ready to play this season, Week 7 at home against the Bucs, I'm going to give the Raiders there. But the emotion of beating the Buccaneers, you go on the road in Week 8, a letdown game, you lose to the Browns, who are a very good team. That could have playoff possibilities in the future. Week 9 on the road, sort of. Feels like the Raiders still are the most popular NFL team in Los Angeles. As somebody who lives here, kind of feels that. You get a win over the Los Angeles Chargers. The following week, you're playing host to the Denver Broncos on Sunday night. These are back-to-back. This is a nice stretch of Sunday games. You beat the Denver Broncos. You beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So in a 3-week stretch, 9, 10, and 11, I have the Raiders beating all 3 of their AFC West counterparts. And they are so excited about this. They go on the road in week 12 and lose to the Atlanta Falcons. And then they drop another in week 13 to the New York Jets, a team you probably shouldn't be losing to. But then the Raiders pull it back together. Week 14 at home against the Indianapolis Colts and Phillip Rivers. The Raiders are not losing to Phillip Rivers. They win that one. They're not losing to Phillip Rivers' former team. They beat the Chargers in week 15. You got the Dolphins. This is a nice 3-game stretch for the Raiders. They sweep it. They beat the Miami Dolphins. They got to go on the road. This is kind of a must win. You got to knock off the Denver Broncos. Your playoff, it's tenuous right now. It's tough. But you know what? You lose to the Broncos. You finish 9-7. The good news is, in the expanded playoff picture, the Las Vegas Raiders, in their inaugural season in Las Vegas, are going to the playoffs as the number 7 seed. Listen, again, love a lot of the moves. I think that Henry Ruggs III will help stretch those defenses. I think this is a huge breakout year for Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr is a good NFL quarterback. They made a lot of nice replacements and upgrades on defense. If they were not in a division with the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs, their record would be in the double digits. But as I see it right now, they finished 9-7, 3rd place in the AFC West, but you're going to the playoffs. Time now for the defending world champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. They open up the season at home, as most Super Bowl champions do, against the Houston Texans. And what's weird to think about the Kansas City Chiefs, they might be better this season after drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the 32nd overall pick in the 2020 draft. They'll destroy the Houston Texans there in week 1. They go on the road in week 2 to face the LA Chargers. Should have no problem with that. They're feeling pretty good. They're 2-0, but they're going to face the Baltimore Ravens. And this is where it's going to start to dawn on them that you are now the team that everybody wants to beat. It was fine over the last couple of years, even with Patrick Mahomes. Of course, teams were looking out for it. But it's a whole different ball game when you are the defending Super Bowl champions. The Ravens feel like they should have been the champions last year. They will end up getting that win on Monday night. The Chiefs then, on a short week, have the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football. I have the Chiefs winning that game. I know that the Patriots are, again, I feel like the Patriots are still going to be pretty good. Even with Jarrett Stidham expected to be the quarterback, that is still going to be a very good football team. The Chiefs should be able to handle them. Week 5, you got the Las Vegas Raiders coming to town. Again, even though the teams they're going after you, the Chiefs should be able to handle the Raiders at home. Then in week 6, you go to play the Buffalo Bills. Again, this is where it's going to start to dawn on you like, oh yeah, everybody wants a piece of us. The Bills, the presumptive AFC East winner, they take care of business. They defeat you there. Then in week 7, when you think that it can't get any worse, the Denver Broncos are there waiting for you. The Broncos loaded up during the offseason. This is what they've been waiting for. There is no way the Broncos are going to allow the Kansas City Chiefs to walk in week 7 and get that victory. But it doesn't matter because the following week, you guys play host to the New York Jets. Might as well be a bye week. You get a win there. The following week, the Carolina Panthers, a team that's got a lot of young, fresh pieces on, especially on defense. They spent their entire draft capital on defense. It won't be enough to stop the Chiefs. You go into the break 6-3. You're looking good, but you come out a Sunday Night Football game. Again, the Las Vegas Raiders. They might have changed cities, but it's still the Chiefs and Raiders rivalry. They are waiting for you. They will take that game. So the Raiders deliver you a loss there after the bye week. Even though Andy Reid historically is great after the bye week, this is a different animal. The Chiefs on the road once again to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now is the time that Tom Brady has got 11 weeks under his belt with that Bucs offense. He's got the terminology down. He's got the chemistry with Chris Godwin. I have the Buccaneers winning that one. The following week, this is a tough game. You cannot lose this game in week 13 against the Denver Broncos, and you certainly won't. You will split with the Broncos. I love the Broncos this season. I have the Chiefs winning that one. I have you going on the road in week 14 to beat the Miami Dolphins. That is no surprise. Even though it could be a little bit of a trap game, it's sandwiched in between the Broncos and the Saints. That seems like a game that you could lose, but you won't. Week 15, you're on the road to play the New Orleans Saints. To me, the New Orleans Saints are still the best team in the NFC, or at least record-wise. Sorry, 49er fans, but I have the Saints winning this one in Week 15. Week 16, playing host to the Atlanta Falcons. I like this Falcons team, but they've got some minor problems. They got some problems on the offensive line, so again, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. Week 17, the division might not be there for you, but I got the Kansas City Chiefs knocking off the Los Angeles Chargers to go 10-6, and I understand where you're coming from. You're a Chiefs fan, you're celebrating your first Super Bowl win in I don't know how long. For a lot of you, this is the first time you ever saw the Kansas City Chiefs win a Super Bowl, and you're like, what gives? Why just 10 wins? Well, the last time Andy Reid made a Super Bowl, his team went 6-10 the following year. That's not going to happen with Patrick Mahomes. I feel like this is a very talented team. They're going to be very good. They're going to be in the mix. And remember last year, you weren't the number one seed and you still ended up winning the Super Bowl. This is going to be a competitive team. They're going to make a run in the playoffs. I just feel with a hungrier team like the Denver Broncos, you're going to finish 10-6, second place in the AFC West. Time now for the Denver Broncos, who finished 7-9 last year. What is in store for this season with second-year head coach Vic Fangio, new offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur, a team that won 4 out of their last 5 games. They opened at home against the Tennessee Titans on Monday night. The Broncos will be ready for this team. The Broncos open up 1-0, but they have to go on the road. This is going to be a tough call. Short week on the road, playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who will be much improved with Ben Roethlisberger back this season as expected. Broncos drop this one. Week 3, Denver Broncos against Tom Brady. One of the best matchups from the last decade or so. And I know Vic Fangio wasn't the coach. Tom Brady wasn't on the Buccaneers. But this early in the season, I think this is when you're going to be able to take games from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as Tom Brady's trying to get used and familiar to his new teammates. I have the Broncos winning this one at home. I have them winning on the road against the New York Jets. And in Week 5, a marquee matchup against the New England Patriots. This is an opportunity for Drew Lock to really just kind of put himself out there and show everybody that the finish of last season was not a fluke. I got the Broncos winning on the road in New England. Following week, they play host to the Miami Dolphins. They get a win. That's a trap game in Week 6. If the Broncos lost in Week 6, looking ahead to the Kansas City Chiefs, that would not surprise me, but I think that the Broncos will be able to hold it together. They get a win here, and they get a win against the defending Super Bowl champions. Again, this Broncos team is ready. Last year, they were 12th in defense. Now they get Bradley Chubb back. This team is a lot better than a lot of people are going to be giving them credit for coming into this season. You go to the bye week. You're feeling pretty good about yourselves. You go on the road to face the Atlanta Falcons. Again, what is the one weakness of the Atlanta Falcons? It's on the offensive line. I think the Broncos will come in, win that game. We got a Sunday night game, Broncos at Las Vegas. I got the Raiders in this one. I think the Raiders are going to be a good team as well this year. This AFC West might be one of the best divisions, if not the best division in football. The following week, Chargers, Broncos, Sunday night game. I got the Broncos winning that one. The following week, the Broncos stay at home for another Sunday night game. They play host to the New Orleans Saints. Well, I got the Saints taking that one. I think that Saints team is very good. I think they're going to be the number 1 team in the NFC. You know what? This stretch for the Broncos is pretty tough. You got the Raiders, you got the Chargers, you got 2 rivalry games. Then you bring the Saints in, kind of mixing things up. They lose that one. They lose the following week, another Sunday night game. So now after Week 13, losing to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Broncos get a little bit of a break. They go down to play the Carolina Panthers, a game they should win. I am picking them to beat the Carolina Panthers, although, again, this could be a trap game because the Bills are coming to town in Week 15. But I got the Broncos beating the Bills. I'm all in on this Broncos team. I love everything that they've got going for them. They got a huge win over the Bills, so of course they go to Los Angeles and lose to the Chargers inexplicably. But Week 17, with a chance to win the division and an opportunity to avenge an earlier season loss, the Broncos will defeat the Las Vegas Raiders. They will finish 11-5, and they will be your AFC West champions this year. I love everything the Broncos have done. Drew Lock looked like a good quarterback at the end of last season, and that was with Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton. Then they go out, they draft Jerry Jeudy, they draft KJ Hamler, they sign Melvin Gordon, who's going to be having some revenge games against the Chargers. This is a loaded team, a loaded offense for Pat Shurmur to go with a defense that was very good last year in getting Bradley Chubb and Jarrell Casey. I might be underselling the Broncos a little bit as I have them at 11-5. Time now for the Chicago Bears, who were a disappointing 8-8 last season. This year, they open up on the road, Week 1, against the Detroit Lions, a game you would expect them to win, but the Bears are 0-2 under Matt Nagy in Week 1. They have not won a Week 1 road game since 2008, and I know that's a long time ago. So I actually have the Lions winning this one. The Bears start off 0-1. Of course, with Mitch Trubisky, who I anticipate to be the starter, there's some questions. Then Week 2, you play the Giants. Feel they escape in a win against the Giants, even though the Giants will be much improved. So you're like, okay, Mitch Trubisky plays another week. Week 3, they go down to Atlanta. A very winnable game, except they drop it to the Falcons. They go 1-2. This is when I anticipate the move. Here comes Nick Foles as the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears if he doesn't win the job outright. But I feel they'll give Mitch a little bit of a head start. So here it is, Nick Foles, first game, going up against the Indianapolis Colts. I will give them the victory there. Week 5, I have the Chicago Bears beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which might sound crazy, but think about this. Early in the season is going to be the best time to play Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Tom Brady played with the same offense for 20 years. Now he's in a new environment with new receivers, new terminology, a new coach, a new everything. Outside of Rob Gronkowski, everything is brand new. And having him play a Thursday night game on the road against a very good defense, I think that it's very reasonable to expect the Bears to win this game. Week 6, the Bears go on the road. I have them beating the Panthers. I have them beating the Rams. The Rams have some problems on the offensive line. So I have the Bears winning that one. Week 8, they come home to play the New Orleans Saints. They lose at home like they did last year. Last year was Teddy Bridgewater knocking them off. This year it'll be Drew Brees. The Bears go on the road to play the Tennessee Titans, a team that made it all the way to the AFC Championship game last year. They have a strong running game. And if there's one way that you could probably attack the Bears, I think that this would be a winnable game, but I have the Titans taking that one. Week 10, Bears playing host to the Minnesota Vikings. Matt Nagy has never lost to the Minnesota Vikings. I have the Bears taking that one. Week 11, the bye week. Now another troubling trend for the Bears is how poorly they've played outside of bye weeks. But now it's combined with playing at Lambeau Field where they haven't done really well either. So I have the Packers taking this one after the bye. Week 13, the Bears get their revenge from Week 1. Even if who knows who the coach of the Lions is at this point, but I have the Bears winning that one. They got Deshaun Watson coming to Chicago in Week 14. Now, normally, I would say the Bears are a better team than the Houston Texans. But if there is one game where Deshaun Watson is going to play like John Moxon trying to stick it to Bud Kilmer, it is going to be this one. So I have the Texans winning it, but the Bears, again, they play on the road at the Vikings in Week 15. I have the Bears winning that one. Listen, the Bears, Nagy's never lost to the Vikes. Week 16, Bears going down to Duval County, Florida. That's a winnable game. I got them winning that. Week 17, even though the division has been locked up, so to speak. Actually, it's not. Because the Packers come in with 8 wins. The Bears have 9 wins. I have the Bears winning this one, just like 2 years ago. The back sack, all that stuff. I have the Bears winning this one, finishing 10-6. I know a lot of people will be like, you're a homer, but understand this. The Bears were 8-8 last year, and it was a disaster. Things were not going well. But the Bears were top 10 in defense. They were 4th in scoring defense. Now you have Akeem Hicks back and healthy. He was out a large part of the year. You added Bobby Quinn, who had 11.5 sacks last year, which I think was like Leonard Floyd's career total. Then you steal Jalen Johnson in the draft. You bring in Tashawn Gibson. Like, this is a good defense. This defense is ready for an extended playoff run. If you can just get replacement level play from your quarterback position, whether it's Mitch Trubisky or Nick Foles, it doesn't matter. This team should be in the playoffs. 10 wins, 10-6, NFC North division champs. Time now for the Detroit Lions, who are coming off a year where they finished 3-12-1, and in week 1, they've got the Chicago Bears, and you would think the Bears are a better team, but the Bears have struggled in openers, especially road openers, over the last number of years. I have the Lions starting off 1-0. Matt Patricia continually rebuilding the culture in Detroit, should end up getting a victory. It's a desperate game for him. Then you go to week 2 and you got to go on the road to the Green Bay Packers. We know what happens when you go on the road to play the Green Bay Packers. So you lose that one. You're on the road to play the Arizona Cardinals. Last year, you had a huge lead against the Cardinals in week 1. You blew it. You ended up with a tie. You're going to end up with a loss this time. Then you're home in week 4 against the New Orleans Saints. This New Orleans Saints team is one of the best in the NFC. You're going to start off 1-3. Bye week now. People are starting to wonder about Matt Patricia. What is going to happen? So you go on the road to face my friends from Duval County, Florida, the Jacksonville Jaguars. You lose that one. Now you're 1-4. The following week, going back on the road to play the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have their own issues. They have some deficiencies on the offensive line and on the defensive side of the football. The Falcons get you. This could be the end of the Matt Patricia era right here. Like, this could be it. Where they're like, okay, we've seen enough rebuilding, enough of this. We traded away Darius Slay, things like that. Week 8, though, you got the Colts. The Colts, this is the classic trap game for them. Maybe you have a new coach. Lions win this one, get their second win of the season. Go on the road to face the Minnesota Vikings, lose there. Then you're home to the Washington Redskins and Ron Rivera in his first season as head coach of the Washington Redskins. I got the Redskins winning this one. The following week, on the road to play the Carolina Panthers. That Carolina Panthers team, a lot of talent on defense. Probably not going to be very consistent, but do think that they have an opportunity here to beat the Lions. And following week, though, Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson. This should not be a game that the Texans lose. But I don't have a lot of confidence in Houston this year. I think there's going to be a lot of reverberations from trading away DeAndre Hopkins. That is the final straw. You know, I think there's a lot of things going on. I think Deshaun Watson might not be thrilled that you're replacing guys like DeAndre Hopkins with Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb. So I have the Lions winning this one. Then you play the Chicago Bears. That's a loss. You play the Green Bay Packers. That's a loss. You go on the road to face the Tennessee Titans. The Titans should be able to handle that. Then you look at the rest of the schedule. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, again, by week 16, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should be they should be like the Death Star, like fully operational, ready to go. They've put it all together. Then week 17, you know, maybe you've got a chance for Trevor Lawrence, but at some point you lose to the Minnesota Vikings right here. So the final, listen, if you want to do yourself a favor, go Google Matt Patricia changing the culture. Every year, there is an article written about how Matt Patricia is changing the culture. And I don't know, maybe Jeff Okudah will replace Darius Slay. Maybe DJ Shelton will replace Snacks Harrison. But you know what? You're just replacing him. And you're replacing him on a defense that allowed 400 yards in 9 games last year, that lost 12 of their last 13. I think there's too many question marks for the Lions, so I have them at 3-13, last place in the NFC North. Time now for the Green Bay Packers, who went 13-3 last year, won the NFC North. They open on the road this season against the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're going to have a little bit of trouble. I think last year the 13 wins was a little inflated, so they go in on the road in week 1, lose at Minnesota. The following week they play host to the Detroit Lions. They should have no problem with that one. So now they're 1-1, things are good. Week 3 though, they go on the road to play the New Orleans Saints, a team who, like them, finished 13-3 last year. The Saints are ready for them. Hand the Packers another loss, they're 1-2. The following week, the Packers come back home to play the Atlanta Falcons. I feel they level up with a win right there. They're 2-2 going into the bye week in week 5 when they return. They are going to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know that I've said this before, and you've probably heard me say this. The best time to play the Buccaneers is early in the season, but I still have the Buccaneers taking this one at home. They're coming off a Thursday night game, which gives them a little bit extra time to get prepared. This is when the Buccaneers are going to start to turn it on, and then the Packers go on the road the following week to play the Houston Texans. I have them dropping that one on the road as well. But in week 8, they've got their division rivals, the Minnesota Vikings, coming to town. I have the Packers winning that one with relative ease before they got to go on the road to play the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday night. 2 games last year against the 49ers. The Packers were not competitive at all. During the regular season, during the NFC Championship game, those games were not even close. I have the 49ers once again winning a laugher. The following week, though, extended rest, the Jags come to town. Things are not that bad for the Packers that they're going to lose to the Jags. I have them winning that one. However, week 11, they're on the road playing the Indianapolis Colts. I think they get caught here. I think the Colts will take that one. I think this Colts team is vastly improved with Phillip Rivers as quarterback. He's got that history with Frank Reich. I thought they did very well in the draft. I've got the Colts right there, but the Packers at home against the Chicago Bears in week 12. If there's a weakness on this Bears team, it's coming off of bye weeks, and it's also playing in Lambeau Field. So this should be a pretty easy one for the Green Bay Packers. The following week, though, they've got the Philadelphia Eagles coming to town. Not quite as lucky this time around as Carson Wentz and company, assuming everybody's healthy and ready to go. The Eagles should take this one in week 13. Week 14, the Packers will sweep the season series as they seemingly always do against the Detroit Lions. They win against the Carolina Panthers in week 15. Week 16 should be a tough one. The Tennessee Titans, of course, last year made a run to the AFC title game, much like the Packers, but unlike the Packers, the Titans were actually sort of competitive in their title game. But I have the Packers winning this one, then with a chance to win the division against the Chicago Bears. History has told us that this would probably be a game that the Packers win, but I'm going to go with the Bears. I think they have the better defense. I have the Packers finishing at 8-8. And I know a lot of Packer fans will come out and be like, this guy's a hater, he's unbiased. Last year, go back and watch the video. One of the predictions I absolutely nailed was the Packers. I had them going 12-4, so maybe I didn't give you enough credit last year. But I had the Packers in the playoffs last year with double-digit wins. This year, I see you as an 8-win team. You are not as good as you were last year. As a matter of fact, I feel that the front office sent you a message. You saw that this team was a game away from the Super Bowl. Now, a lot of times, teams that are a game away from the Super Bowl will draft players to get to the Super Bowl the next year. The thing is, with this Packers team, is that they drafted for their future quarterback. They drafted a running back they kind of don't need. So I think that 8-8, they're going to be this year's Chicago Bears, and I think that's a reasonable expectation. Time now for the Minnesota Vikings, who finished 10-6 and reached the playoffs last year. This season, they open up at home against the Green Bay Packers, a game they should probably win against their division rivals. They got a tough one in week 2 against the Indianapolis Colts, who now have Phillip Rivers at quarterback. They did a nice job in the draft. I have the Vikings losing that one. I think the Colts are going to surprise a lot of people. I have the Colts winning the AFC South this year. Now in week 3, speaking of the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans come to town, a team that made it all the way to the AFC Championship game last year. I think the Vikings have enough. I think there's still some, even though there are a lot of new faces on the Minnesota Vikings, I still believe that they have enough here to win in week 3, to go 2-1, but they go on the road to face the Houston Texans, and I think this is where we're going to start to see some inconsistencies with this Vikings team. The Texans, even though the Texans made a lot of questionable moves during the offseason or over the last couple of years, I have the Texans winning this one in week 4. The Seattle Seahawks, one of the best teams in the NFC. Obviously, Russell Wilson, one of the most underrated players in football. I don't know how he's never gotten an MVP vote, but I have the Seattle Seahawks winning this one in week 5. Week 6, the Vikings level up with the win over the Atlanta Falcons. These are two teams that I think are very similar. Have a lot of question marks. With the Falcons, it's on the offensive line. With the Vikings, it's all these question marks on the defensive side of the football. It wouldn't surprise me to see them drop this game, but I got the Vikings winning here, going into the bye week. First game out of the bye week, going up against the Green Bay Packers. Feel they're going to split the season series with the Packers. They play host to the Lions. They should have no problem with the Lions. I don't have a lot of faith in Matt Patricia or what the change in culture that's happened for the last 3 years. So the Vikings should handle that one. Monday Night Football, primetime game, Kirk Cousins against the Bears, a team he's never beaten as quarterback of the Vikings, 0-3. I have him going 0-4 as the Bears win this one in Week 10. Week 11, you play host to the Dallas Cowboys. I have the Cowboys taking this one. The Cowboys should be one of the best teams in the NFC. They should win this one, but the Vikings come back with a couple more winnable games. Week 12 against the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater revenge game notwithstanding, the Vikings should win this one. The Jags against the Vikings. Again, I've got Minnesota coming out on top. Week 14, the litmus test, going on the road to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a tough stretch. The Vikings will have the Buccaneers, the Bears, the Saints, and then, well, the Lions. But the Buccaneers, the Bears, and the Saints. I have them dropping a game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a tough one. Week 15 against the Chicago Bears. Again, I talk about the mastery that the Bears have had over the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to have the Bears in this one. Week 16, the Saints. You know, the Saints, you've had their number in the playoffs. You had the Minnesota Miracle. You had whatever the heck that was last year, where the Saints seemingly just didn't show up. But in the regular season, I'm going to go with the Saints on a short week, taking this one against the Minnesota Vikings. But you finish on a positive note. Take out the Detroit Lions to get the win, and there you go. 7-9 for the Minnesota Vikings. Look, I know you got rid of Stephon Diggs, and you replaced him with Justin Jefferson, who comes from a pro-ready offense at LSU, but that's a huge ask for a young player who's not going to get a full training camp. Then you look at some of the names that you're missing. Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, Mackenzie Alexander, Andrew Sendejo, Everson Griffin, although as we're doing this, Everson Griffin, still a free agent. We don't know where he's going. Too many changes with the Vikings. They did a great job in the draft. I think this is a team that's going to take a little bit of a step back this season. Maybe a little bit of regression. I think 2021 is when this team is going to start to come together. Some great draft picks, but given everything that's going on, I think 7-9, third place in the NFC North. Time now for the Carolina Panthers, who last year finished 5-11, but so many changes have happened. Cam Newton is gone. Luke Kuechly's retired. Greg Olsen is now a member of the Seattle Seahawks. Ron Rivera is coaching the Washington Redskins. CMC's still there, and in week 1, he is going to lead the Panthers to a victory over the Las Vegas Raiders. And then in week 2, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, you're not going to win that one, but in week 3, I have the Panthers beating the Los Angeles Chargers to start the season 2-1. And one of the reasons I really feel strongly about this is that Joe Brady is the new offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. And you might remember him from 1 year at LSU, where Joe Burrow had one of the most amazing seasons in college football history. But Joe Brady was on the Saints offensive staff 2 years ago when Teddy Bridgewater first arrived in New Orleans. So there's some familiarity there. So Teddy Bridgewater, his learning curve is going to be a little bit shorter because he's got some familiarity with Joe Brady, and that should help them out in the first couple of weeks of the season. Although, starting in week 4, you got a tough game. The Arizona Cardinals coming to town. I feel like the Cardinals are a pretty decent team. I think they're going to end up taking that one. Then the Panthers go on the road to face the Atlanta Falcons, a prideful team with a former MVP at quarterback. I think they lose that one. The Chicago Bears come to town. At that point, I anticipate Nick Foles fully being the starting quarterback for the Bears. A very good defensive team. I think they'll give Teddy Bridgewater some trouble. A revenge game from last year when Teddy Bridgewater led the Saints to a win over the Bears in Chicago. Week 7, you got to go on the road to face the Saints. I know it's a revenge game for Teddy, but I would take the Saints in that one. But Carolina gets their 3rd win of the season with a victory over the Falcons in week 8. Feel like, listen, these teams are close enough to where they should split home and road in the division with some of these teams. Week 9, you go on the road to face the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champions. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I love Matt Rule. I love everything about this Panthers team, but I think this is a huge ask for them to go on the road to beat the Panthers. And then the following week, you're playing host to the Buccaneers. And this is about the time where the Buccaneers should start to feel themselves, where Tom Brady's now got a full grasp of the offense. That team will be clicking on all cylinders, so they will end up losing there. They're at home against the Lions in Week 11. That should be a victory. I know Matt Patricia changing the culture once again in Detroit, but I still believe in the Carolina Panthers here. Although the following week in Week 12, on the road against the Minnesota Vikings, two teams, the Panthers and Vikings, who have a lot of new faces on defense. Both teams invested heavily in free agency in the draft on the defensive side of the football. But I got the Vikings winning here as the Panthers head to the bye week in Week 13. Coming out of that, the Broncos come to town. We love the Broncos this season. Love Drew Lock. Love this offense. Love the draft. I think Drew Lock had the best offseason of anybody. So I'm going to have the Broncos with a victory on the road here. Then the Panthers go back-to-back to Green Bay. I can't expect the Panthers to go to Green Bay and get a victory. And in Week 16, in the Ron Rivera revenge game, there is no way the Panthers are going to walk into our nation's capital and get a win over the prideful Ron Rivera. And then Week 17, Saints, Panthers. I have the Saints winning that one as the Saints go on to win the divisional title. Now, it's not a must win, although they'll be jockeying around for some position, for some playoff position, but still have the Saints taking that one. So for me, I look at everything that Matt Rule and Joe Brady and Teddy Bridgewater. I love this team. I love this setup. I love the draft philosophy. There's going to be a lot of good players there on defense that over the next couple of years will start to come together. But when you look at the number of changes this organization has made, I think 4 wins would be considered a great season for them. And that's where I have them 4-12, last place in the NFC South. Time now for the Atlanta Falcons, who last year finished 7-9, but brought Dan Quinn back because he deserves another chance to prove that he should be the coach of this team. And in Week 1, you play host to the Seattle Seahawks and you lose. I think the Seahawks are one of the best teams in the NFC. I have them going and making the playoffs this year, so I have the Seahawks favored in this one, even though the Falcons should be a little bit better than last year. But these first 2 games are going to be very tough for them because they go on the road in Week 2 to play the Dallas Cowboys, who bring in Mike McCarthy to lead this team. The Cowboys were good statistically last year. Now you have a coach that's good at getting a team to the playoffs. I really do believe that the Cowboys take that one as well. And the Falcons, who thought that they could make a run this season, now start off 0-2. Here come the Bears, a team that I think are going to be much better than they were last season. But I still think the Falcons go ahead and get the win over the Chicago Bears. They should still be facing Mitch Trubisky at this point. And even though the Falcons have struggled defensively, this should be an opportunity for them to go out there, get that much needed win. They're too talented to start off 0-3, so I will give them the win there. But they have to go on the road to face the Green Bay Packers in Week 4. That's a winnable game for them. I think the Packers, their record last year was a bit inflated, but I have the Packers winning that one in Week 4. Week 5, Carolina Panthers coming to town to play the Atlanta Falcons. Teddy Bridgewater, but I got the Falcons in this one. I think, again, the Falcons, if they could find some consistency, start to string together some wins, they could actually be a pretty good team here in the NFC, make a run towards the playoffs. But again, in Week 6, on the road at Minnesota, another tough game. I know the Minnesota Vikings are kind of in flux. They've got a lot of new faces, especially on the defensive side of the football, but I have the Vikings winning that one. The Falcons come home. They play the Detroit Lions. That's a game they should win. So I got the Falcons there. Okay, win, loss. But then again, in Week 8, they're going to go on the road to play the Carolina Panthers. I think the Panthers, even though they have a lot of questions, Teddy Bridgewater, now in firm control, has his own gig. I have the Panthers winning that one, knocking off the Falcons. And then the Falcons, it makes matters worse. The following week, the Broncos come to town, and I think the Broncos, with Drew Lock, who finished strong at the end of last year, end up beating the Falcons. After the Week 10 bye week, the Falcons are in a fortunate situation to kind of face the Saints during the middle of a lull, kind of a trap game for them. I know it's tough with these rivalry games to really count it as a trap game, but I think this is a pretty good opportunity for the Falcons, who won in New Orleans last year. The Raiders come to town to play the Falcons again. I think the Falcons now start to put it together a little bit. You get back-to-back wins after the bye week. I think the Raiders are a very good team. I have them picked to make the playoffs this season. But again, West Coast-ish teams going to East Coast-ish teams. I think this is a tough one. I think the Falcons end up getting the victory here. But in Week 13, the opportunity to sweep the season series from the Saints goes a bit awry. The Saints win that one. The Falcons can regroup the following week. You get the Los Angeles Chargers on the road. You get a win there, although that's a trap game. If the Falcons are going to get trapped, and if the Chargers are going to make a run, if the Chargers are going to be better than I think they're going to be, that would be a game the Chargers could win. So I would say I would still have the Falcons here. And then in Week 15, you're Matt Ryan, you're Dan Quinn. The only thing you're going to hear leading up to the Week 15 game against Tom Brady is 28-3. And that kind of stuff will stick with you for a long time. So I have the Falcons getting a little bit of revenge on Tom Brady with a victory here in Week 15. And now you think maybe they can make a little run to the playoffs. They're 7-7, but you got the Chiefs, you got the Buccaneers in back-to-back weeks. I like the Chiefs and the Buccaneers to take both of those games. The Falcons finish 7-9. Once again, and this could spell the end of Dan Quinn, although again, I think that given everything that this Falcon team has to overcome this year, number one, you're in one of the toughest divisions in football. The Saints have been excellent for a long time now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just got Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback in NFL history. You spent a lot of draft capital on the offensive line. If that offensive line can improve, then the Falcons could end up making a run towards the playoffs. But as it stands right now, I have the Falcons at 7-9, and I have them finishing in third place in the NFC South. Time now for the New Orleans Saints, who won 13 games for the second consecutive season, the first time that's happened in club history. They start off Week 1 in one of the most anticipated matchups of the year, going up against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Listen, Drew Brees has been in this offense for years. He's going to have no problem. This is when you want to play Tom Brady early in the season when he's trying to learn his new teammates and all that terminology. I got the Saints winning there. Huge win means a huge letdown the following week as they go on the road to face the Las Vegas Raiders. I like this Raiders team. I think that Mike Mayock and John Gruden are building a very good roster down there in the desert. So I'm going to give the Raiders to win there. But in Week 3, the Saints have another huge game, this time playing host to the Green Bay Packers. I got the Saints winning that one. I just think they're a better team. They go on the road in Week 4 to play the Detroit Lions. I've got them winning that one. That shouldn't be much competition. Even though they're coming off a huge win over the Packers, they should keep it together enough to beat the Detroit Lions. And then right before the bye week, they play host to the LA Chargers. Again, should not have too much difficulty. So the first couple of games, very difficult for the New Orleans Saints, but then you get a couple of nice ones. You got the Lions and the Chargers. So you should go out, have 4 wins there in the first 5 weeks. I think this Saints team will get on a roll. In Week 7, after the bye week, you play host to the Carolina Panthers. A Teddy Bridgewater revenge game, but the Saints are going to have too much for him. Maybe Taysom Hill comes in, does some crazy thing. Maybe Taysom Hill has more touchdowns than Teddy Bridgewater in that game. But I got the Saints winning in Week 7. Week 8 on the road in Chicago. Last year, they went up and beat the Bears with Teddy Bridgewater. This year, they'll do it with Drew Brees, get a win over the Chicago Bears. Now in Week 9, here it is, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This will be a tough one. I have the Buccaneers winning this one. I have a hard time imagining the Buccaneers losing twice to the Saints team with Tom Brady. I think now this is going to be the time of year where Tom Brady's going to start to get going. So I have the Saints losing here, but in Week 10, they got the San Francisco 49ers coming back to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Last year, one of the most exciting games during the regular season. George Kittle was amazing in that one, but a little bit of a revenge game for the Saints. I think that was the game that they look at, that had they beaten the 49ers there, they would have finished 14-2. They would have had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. You know, that's something that sticks in your mind. So they knock off the 49ers in Week 10. But again, these are the things that happen. You have a huge win. The Falcons come to town in Week 11. You try to muster up the energy and enthusiasm, even though it's the hated Falcons. I think the Saints are going to drop that one. But the following week, they got a huge game on the road against the Denver Broncos. Now, it's later in the season. It could be a cold weather game, but I still have the Saints winning that one. I think the Saints are, I think they showed again last year. You know, they went on the road and they won big games. They end up beating the Broncos, who we love this year. And then week 13, the Saints get over on the Falcons once again. Last year they did a reverse split. This year they will do the same. So now the Saints are coming off huge wins on the road against the Broncos and Falcons. Now they're on the road once again to play the Philadelphia Eagles. Who put this schedule together? This is just mean. And I think the Saints would have a pretty good opportunity to beat the Eagles under normal circumstances. But you cannot ask this team to go on the road 3 consecutive weeks to play the Broncos, to play their division rival, and then try to play the Eagles. I'm going to have the Eagles taking this one. I think, again, they get into the playoffs, things could go crazy. But I like the Eagles in this one, just given the circumstance. Plus, you know, the Saints got to come home. They got to play the Chiefs. I have them winning that game against the Chiefs. I think that after losing to the Eagles, they're going to regroup. They're going to be ready. Maybe they're looking past the Eagles. I don't know what it is, but I think they'll end up beating the Chiefs. I think they'll end up handling the Vikings. I think the Vikings, again, have way too many questions this season. There's too many moving parts, too many new faces. So I think the Vikings are a year away. So I have the Saints winning that one. And then in week 17, once again, Teddy Bridgewater revenge game. I'm going to go with the Saints in this one. They finished 12-4. As I said right off the top, back-to-back years of 13 wins. That streak ends, but still, 12-4, that will be enough to win the NFC South once again. So I have the Saints as the number 2 seed in the NFC with a 12-4 record. Time now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who last year, who cares how they finished last year? They got Tom Brady now. This is a brand new year, a brand new season. And you're going to face the New Orleans Saints in week 1. And yeah, I'm going to say you're going to lose. Here's the thing. I think the Buccaneers are going to be great. But Tom Brady has played in one offense for his entire NFL career. So he's played for one head coach his entire NFL career. Now you got to go find, listen, I'm sure he's excited and everything like that, but you got new terminology, you got new everything. Outside of Rob Gronkowski, everything is new. So I think these first couple of weeks are going to be a little bit tough for Brady. So I think that they lose to the Saints in week 1. Week 2, they play host to the Panthers. They'll win that game. It'll be uglier than people want it to be. I think everybody will be like, well, now he's got it. No, don't. This will still be a close game. But the Buccaneers will be 1-1. They'll go on the road to play the Denver Broncos. I love the Broncos this year. Last season, Drew Lock finished strong. I got the Broncos winning that one. Broncos against Brady. Like, you love these games. Week 4, the Chargers come to town, level up. You go 2-2. You're feeling good. Tom Brady's starting to get on a roll. The Chargers probably going to struggle a little bit this year. Chargers defense is good. Make no mistake about it. I just have a lot of questions for them offensively. So I got the Buccaneers at 2-2 going on the road in week 5, Thursday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. The Buccaneers, if they have one weakness, it would be on the offensive line. This Bears team added Bobby Quinn, or Robert Quinn to the rest of you, but Bobby and I, we're close. We're good like that. So here's the thing. Bears take this one. Now, if this was a regular Sunday in week 10, who knows? But week 5, Tom Brady's still getting situated in Tampa Bay against a very good defense. The Bears defense was top 10 last year, top 5 in scoring. So I got the Bears winning that one. But week 6, the Buccaneers, you play host to the Green Bay Packers. Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. I will take Brady every day of the week. You're 3-3. You're leveled up once again. But now, okay, so now you're feeling okay. Now it's 3-3. This is what we expected. Here's where the run starts. Well, not yet. Week 7 on the road against the Raiders. That's a tough game. And I think the Raiders are going to be very good. John Gruden has still not let go of the tuck rule. So I got the Raiders winning that one. Week 8 against the Giants. I think Danny Dimes, Joe Judge, a former Patriots assistant, I think the Giants steal that one. So now is everybody starting to question this? Oh, did the Buccaneers make a mistake? Should they have kept Jameis? Is everything hunky-dory? Was this a mistake? Should you not have had a breakup to go out with the older quarterback? Well, in week 9, you play host to the New Orleans Saints. You get a win there. Week 10, going on the road to play the Carolina Panthers. You get a win there. Week 11, the LA Rams come to town. This is where the season lies. Tampa Bay Buccaneers win this game. The season's going to be a lot different. If they lose, this could start them in motion of missing the playoffs, but I have the Buccaneers winning this one. I think the Rams have some questions. I think for as great as Sean McVay has been over his first 3 years with the LA Rams, this is going to be a tough one. The following week, you got the Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady against Patrick Mahomes once again. I got the Tampa Bay. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that one. They go to the bye week. They return. They got the Minnesota Vikings. I say they win that one. Now they're on a roll. So nobody can stop the Buccaneers now, except in week 15, Atlanta Falcons beat the Buccaneers. And you want to know why? Do you want to know how many times Matt Ryan is going to have to hear about 28-3 in this week 15 game? That whole week, that's all it's going to be about. 28-3. How do you blow that game? You don't think the Falcons are going to be motivated to come out and beat this Buccaneers team? Yeah, I give the Falcons the win right here. Week 16, they're playing the Detroit Lions. They will win that game. Tom Brady against maybe Matt Patricia if he's still coaching the Lions. Then in week 17, Tom Brady gets his revenge on the Falcons once again. Week 17, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 10-6, second place in the NFC South. But I would say, given the number of games that they won down the stretch, the Buccaneers might be the most dangerous team going into the 2020 playoffs. But I have them at 10-6 in second place. Time now for the Dallas Cowboys, who were 8-8 last season, but welcome new head coach Mike McCarthy. And they open on the road in Los Angeles against Sean McVay and the Rams. Now, I'm going to have the Rams win this one. Sean McVay 3-0 in season openers during his NFL career. And Mike McCarthy getting used to the new digs and everything that's going on. There is no shame in that. But I have the Rams winning in week 1. The Cowboys rebound in week 2 going up against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons could be one of those teams that makes a run in the playoffs, but I think the Cowboys have enough. If you look at the Cowboys last year, they were first in total offense. They were 9th in total defense. It's amazing to me that they finished 8-8 when they were so good, but I think Mike McCarthy is going to help level that out. Although in week 3, they got to go to Seattle and play the Seahawks. I have them losing that game because obviously the Seahawks are one of the best teams in the NFC. But then the following week, they play host to the Browns. The Cowboys should win that game, even though the Browns will be much more improved this year. The Giants, again, another team that I feel that can be very improved. The Cowboys, this is why Mike McCarthy's here. They should find some consistency. Beat the Giants in this one. The Cowboys are 15-3 in their last 18 games against the NFC East. They play host to the Cardinals, a former NFC East team. In week 6, they should win that one, as they should in week 7, going on the road to face the Washington Redskins. That's a great rivalry, and the Cowboys could be looking ahead to the Philadelphia Eagles, but I don't think that's going to be the case right here, even though I have the Dallas Cowboys losing against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this Eagles team is going to be very tough. Love a lot of the changes that they made, a lot of the upgrades that the Eagles have made. The Eagles, though, one of the most consistent teams in football over the last 3 years. Week 9, this is going to be a huge game for the Dallas Cowboys. They're playing host to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A team, anytime an AFC and NFC team match up, it could be a potential Super Bowl preview, but this is actually a very good preview. I have the Steelers being much improved. I have them being the number 1 seed in the AFC with the return of Ben Roethlisberger and an excellent defense. The Cowboys have a great defense too, and they added CeeDee Lamb to the best offense in football. So I have the Cowboys winning this one going into the bye week with just 3 losses. After the bye week, they go on the road to play the Minnesota Vikings. They should win that game. The Vikings are in flux. Got a lot of questions, a lot of new faces on defense. The Redskins, again, rivalry aside, the Cowboys have been so great against the NFC over the last couple of years, so I have the Cowboys there. They go on the road to play the Baltimore Ravens. That is going to be a loss for them. I think the Ravens are very good. So I have the Cowboys losing at the Ravens, winning on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow is a good quarterback, should make that team much more competitive. The Bengals just could not move the ball offensively last year. But again, you're going up against one of the top teams in the NFC. I've got the Cowboys beating the Cincinnati Bengals. An interesting stretch for the Cowboys right here. They close out with games against the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Giants. And this, I think even the most opportunistic Cowboys fan looks at this and says, if they finish 2-1 down this stretch, that would be a pretty good year. That would be pretty great. But you know what? I'm going to have the Cowboys beating the San Francisco 49ers. This is no disrespect to the 49ers. They're an excellent team. But the 49ers are now walking into the season as the team that everybody is gunning for. If the Cowboys are going to lose a game, they'll end up overlooking the 49ers and losing to the Bengals. They're not going to lose to the 49ers at home. I think that losing to the Eagles once during the regular season is enough for them. They will end up beating the Eagles in that one, and in what could be a trap game again against the New York Giants. We love Danny Dimes and everything like that. I think that if the Cowboys didn't need to win this game, if they weren't still fighting for first place in the NFC East, I think this could be a very losable game for them on the road. But I have enough confidence in Mike McCarthy, and I think that this Cowboys team is just loaded offensively. And I know the Cowboy fans are probably like, don't give us too much credit. That never works out for us. But I got the Cowboys winning here, finishing 12-4. That would not be enough, though, to win the NFC East. I have the Eagles at 13-3, but I think that this Cowboys roster, as it's constructed right now, adding CeeDee Lamb, adding guys like Trayvon Diggs to replace Byron Jones, and making those subtle adjustments. Trying to replace Robert Quinn will be a little bit of a challenge. They need to get to the quarterback. But I think this Cowboys team is going to finish 12-4 and be second in the NFC East. Now it's time for the New York Giants, who finished 4-12 last season, but welcome in Joe Judge to be the new head coach, and Jason Garrett is the offensive coordinator. But they have a tough game in week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that I believe is going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. They got Ben Roethlisberger back, so I think it's a huge ask for them to go out and beat the Steelers, even though they're going to be at home. The following week, they go on the road, possibly a winnable game, going up against the Chicago Bears. I know a lot of people are skeptical about the Bears. I'm a little bit more optimistic, obviously. But I got the Giants losing that one as well. And then you got to play the San Francisco 49ers. That is a tough stretch. Steelers, Bears, 49ers, 3 playoff teams to me. And even though the San Francisco 49ers are playing back-to-back road games in New York, and there's an opportunity for a trap game situation right here, still believe that the Giants end up losing that one, even though I love Danny Dimes. I love the changes. I love having James Bradbury as a shutdown corner. I think that the improvements on the offensive line, I think this could be a very good team, but then I keep looking at it, and I see in week 4, you've got to play on the road at the LA Rams. That is going to be a difficult game to play. I have the Giants losing that one. I have the Giants losing in week 5 on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that most Giants fans will look at this schedule and be like, okay, I see where you're going. But week 6, we got Washington at home. We should win that one. Except, okay, listen, I have the Redskins winning this game, and I will tell you why. In 2016 and in 2018, the Giants and the Redskins swept, with the road team winning all those games. I know that is stupid, and it makes no sense, and there's no guarantee that that's going to happen this year. But listen, that's what I got. I got the Giants starting at 0-6, but in week 7, you're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles in what should be a trap game for the Eagles, and that's not to slight the New York Giants. I think you have a good football team. I think you get the win there against the Eagles, and then you're in another situation where you got a trap game again against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, I know you're New York and everything like that, but you're still a trap game for a lot of teams. I think you beat the Buccaneers in week 8. Week 9, I got you winning against the Washington Redskins. So there's where the split with Washington happens. You win on the road. You've got a 3-game winning streak at home against the Philadelphia Eagles right before a bye week. But you know what? I just don't think you have quite enough. I think the Eagles take that one. To me, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC this season. I have them as my number 1 seed. No disrespect for that. No disrespect losing that game. Week 11, you got your bye week. Week 12, you come back, you play the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow and that good team. But I think that, this is a nice little look at 2 of the best quarterbacks of the future. Danny Dimes going up against Joe Burrow. I have Danny Dimes winning this one. You got the Seahawks on the road. Again, you guys are doing a great job of being these potential spoilers, potential trap game. I think this is a good opportunity for the Giants to go out there and surprise the Seattle Seahawks, but I'm going to take Russell Wilson and Seattle in this one. Week 14 at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, that Cardinals offense on the road. I will take the Giants. Week 15, the Browns in an Odell Beckham Jr. revenge game, but I think the Giants are going to have enough. They're not going to want to hear about it. They're not going to want to hear that noise. So I've got the Giants winning this OBJ revenge game. Then in week 16, you're on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. You know what? Reality starts to set in. Week 17, I know these are Jason Garrett revenge games. I just don't see you beating the Dallas Cowboys this season. I know that in week 5, when you're going up against the Cowboys, Jason Garrett's going to be all geeked for that one, and everybody's going to want to see it. I think that the Giants have a great future. I think that Joe Judge will end up being a good coach. I think having a guy like Jason Garrett on the sidelines is definitely going to help. This is a team that if they make a run and they get to 9 wins, it would not surprise me. But I think that given the schedule and given the way things are breaking out, I have the Giants right now at 6-10, third place in the NFC East. But I think in 2021, this is going to have to be a team that you're looking out for. Time now for the Philadelphia Eagles, who finished 9-7 last year, but still won the NFC East. What's in store for this season? Well, let's start off in week 1. The Eagles on the road against the Washington Redskins. Ron Rivera, the new head coach in our nation's capital, but the Eagles are going to win this one. They could be looking ahead because in week 2 they play host to the LA Rams, but again, I think the Eagles, they're really going to start to come together. They got Darius Slay. I'm sure they lost Malcolm Jenkins and everything like that, but I think Darius Slay is going to bring something to this defense. So I have the Eagles winning in week 2 over the LA Rams. Week 3, the Cincinnati Bengals come to town, but again, I think the Eagles are just going to overwhelm them. I have them winning that game, and in a huge upset, week 4, going across the country to face the San Francisco 49ers. Now realize the 49ers are coming off 2 consecutive road games at the Giants and at the Jets. And I believe it's going to be too much for them to ask that even though they're going to be at home, I think the Eagles go out and get them, and they start off 4-0. Huge win over the 49ers. Eagles fans are pumped. And then in week 5, you go and you play your cross-state rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who you knock you off. No, listen. That Steelers team is going to be very good. I have the Steelers as the number 1 team in the AFC. Ben Roethlisberger is back. Juju will be better. Deontay Johnson is there. There's a lot of cool things going on in Pittsburgh, but unfortunately for them, and this week, after a huge win on the road to San Francisco, you can't ask them to beat the 49ers and Steelers back-to-back. That's just not going to happen. But week 6, you play host to the Baltimore Ravens, a team that finished 14-2 a season ago. I got the Eagles here. I think that the Eagles have an opportunity right here. The following week, the Giants come to town. Again, when you come from a stretch where you have the 49ers, the Steelers, the Ravens, you go 2-3 over that stretch, odds are you're going to have a letdown against the New York Giants. And no disrespect to the Eagles, but that Giants team is pretty good. Daniel Jones looks like a solid quarterback. And, you have a game with the Dallas Cowboys on the horizon. I see that as the Eagles looking past the Giants, which, listen, this happens all the time in the NFL. You take a loss there, but the following week against the Dallas Cowboys, you're not going to let this one slide. You're not going to let Mike McCarthy come in his first time in Philadelphia as the head coach of the Cowboys. You're not going to let him win that game. So the Eagles are 6-2 at the bye week. They come out, they got the Giants. Not going to overlook the Giants this time. You're going to win huge in week 10 in the Meadowlands. Week 11, Eagles on the road in Cleveland. This is a tough one. This is one that the Browns could certainly win. Kind of sneak up on the Eagles here, but I have the Eagles staying the course. They're going to win this game. The following week, they're home against the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, these 2 teams matched up last year in the playoffs. Both teams injury-riddled. The Seahawks won in the playoffs last year. The Eagles get a little bit of revenge right here. They go on the road. Carson Wentz in week 13. Now he's leading his Eagles team against the Green Bay Packers. Wentz against Aaron Rodgers. Wentz, I know you might think this is a mismatch, but Wentz is one of the few quarterbacks in NFL history that over the last 3 seasons has had at least 20 touchdown passes and 7 or fewer interceptions. This is a rare occurrence. I got Carson Wentz winning this one. I got Carson Wentz winning the next week against Drew Brees at home against the New Orleans Saints. Then the following week, in what could be a trap game, looking ahead to the Dallas Cowboys, you're on the road playing the Arizona Cardinals in week 15, but I got you winning that one as well. So now you're feeling pretty good. You're feeling yourselves. But you got to go on the road in week 16 to play the Dallas Cowboys. I think this Cowboys team is great. You got them. in week 8. I think the Cowboys win this one in week 16. I think this Cowboys team is going to be very good. These are the two teams that are going to be fighting for not only the NFC East, but possibly the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. The following week, the Eagles locked that up with a win over the Washington Redskins in week 17. And again, you look at what has happened with the Eagles, very consistent over the last number of years. They've made 3 consecutive playoff appearances. They're just one of 4 teams to do that. Now, they've done it without injuries, and you can never really predict injuries or anything like that. But if Carson Wentz is going to be healthy, this Eagles team is going to be the top in the NFC this season. I have them at 13-3, the number 1 seed in the NFC. Time now for the Washington Redskins, who last year finished 3-13 and welcome in new head coach Ron Rivera. And in week 1, they welcome in the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that I believe is going to be the best in the NFC, not only East, but also the entire NFC this year. So I have the Eagles taking that one. Then in week 2, the Redskins go on the road. Got to go play the Arizona Cardinals, a team that made a huge splash and kind of won the offseason by getting DeAndre Hopkins. I got the Cardinals winning that one. Speaking of winning the offseason, for the second consecutive year, the Browns have won the offseason, but I have them winning week 3 against the Washington Redskins. And really, this is going to be a tough stretch for the Redskins because in week 4, you got to play host to the Baltimore Ravens, who finished 14-2 and were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year. So I've got the Ravens taking that one. I've got the LA Rams, maybe a Sean McVay revenge game against the Washington Redskins. I got the LA Rams winning that one. The Redskins get their first win in week 6. It's not unusual for these teams to split, the Redskins and the Giants. And as a matter of fact, in 2016 and 2018, these two teams split, with the road team winning all of those games. I have the Redskins winning there, but losing the following week to the Dallas Cowboys. It wasn't too long ago. But the Cowboys, even though they were the better team, would go and lose in our nation's capital, but I don't think they're in any risk of that this year. They go to the bye week in week 8. Week 9, the Giants come to our nation's capital. The Giants end up winning that game. They get the split that I was just talking about a moment ago. Week 10, Ron Rivera takes his team in Detroit, gets a victory. We don't know who the coach of the Lions is. Let's pretend it's Matt Patricia. I still believe that Ron Rivera will lead the Redskins to a win there. But in week 11, the Bengals come to town. Joe Burrow against Chase Young, the 2 top picks in the 2020 NFL Draft. Right now, Joe Burrow is going to get the best of that, so I have the Bengals winning that game. You also have, in week 12, the Dallas Cowboys playing host to the Redskins. I have the Cowboys winning that one. This is going to be such a tough stretch for Washington. You're on the road against the Cowboys. You follow that up the next week on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The team that I have is the number 1 team in the AFC this year. I think that's going to be a loss. I do believe that they are going to lose to the San Francisco 49ers, a team that was the number 1 seed in the NFC last year. And you follow that up in week 15 with Russell Wilson coming to town. But I think that the Redskins are actually going to win this game. And I know that, we talk about the Seahawks. They play so well. They play a lot of the good teams really well, but there are games where they just get caught off guard. I think this is going to be one of them. We see this at the end of seasons for the Seahawks, as they just end up falling into these trap games. I think that's going to be one for them. Week 16, Carolina Panthers at Washington in the Ron Rivera revenge game. There is no way the Carolina Panthers are going to come out of this one with a victory. So give me Washington right there for their 4th win of the season. But they finish the year off with a loss on the road to the Philadelphia Eagles as they take the top spot in the NFC. So 4-12, an improvement last year by 1 game. But you look at it, they got Chase Young. They got a defense that is growing. They got Terry McLaurin. They've got some other studs there on offense. It all comes down to Dwayne Haskins. If there is going to be a huge turnaround, if the Redskins fans are looking at this and wondering why Chase Young can't give them the kind of year that Nick Bosa gave to the 49ers, to me, it's the quarterback position. And it all comes down, if Dwayne Haskins plays at a level that Jimmy Garoppolo did, or if they can run the ball like the 49ers were one of the top offenses last year because they could run the football, then perhaps Chase Young could do that for you. But instead, you're going to be looking to the future as the Redskins finish 4-12, last place in the NFC East. Time now for the Los Angeles Rams. 9-7 last year, first time missing the playoffs under Sean McVay. They start off week 1 with a difficult matchup against the Dallas Cowboys at home, but Sean McVay undefeated in week 1 during his LA Rams career. So I'm going to have them knocking off the Dallas Cowboys in this one, going to 1-0, but this is a tough stretch to open the year for the LA Rams. Now, last season, they started off with a nice little win streak before things kind of got sideways on them. Immediately in week 2, they got to go on the road to play the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that I believe is going to win the NFC, or at least have the top seed in the NFC. So I have the Eagles winning this one, the Rams leveling up, going out again on the road to play the Buffalo Bills. And this is a fortunate circumstance for them because they are going up against the Buffalo Bills in September or early in the season before the weather has really taken hold. So I would say the Rams go in and win that one. I think the Buffalo Bills made enough improvements on offense to be competitive in this one, but I'm still going to favor the Rams here. And I'm going to say they improved to 2-1 and then go 3-1 with a home win over the New York Giants. So I like, and again, you look at some of these games too. Week 5, the Rams are on the road to play the Washington Redskins. That is where Sean McVay cut his teeth. I don't know if you would count that as a revenge game, but I look at this early season stretch for the Rams, and even though it's difficult, I have them starting off at 4-1. There's some winnable games. I think there's some question marks with this team, but I think the way that the schedule is working out for them, it's positive at the moment, because in week 6, though, they got to go on the road to face the San Francisco 49ers. I thought last year that even though some of the games, one of the games, even though it was sort of close, even though the Rams were sort of a playoff team, I think the 49ers were a much better team. I feel like they continue to improve that gap. I think that the 49ers are still ascending. The Rams, if they're not descending, they're at least leveling off. So I have the 49ers winning this one. Week 7, they come home, they play host to the Chicago Bears. I have the Bears winning this one. And I think that if you go back a couple of years ago, and when you look at Jared Goff, and the decline that he's had. Now, some people will credit the Detroit Lions, and if you want to do that, that's fine. But it was that game on Sunday Night Football against the Chicago Bears that really started the downward slide of the Los Angeles Rams, and especially Jared Goff, because obviously the Rams made the Super Bowl that year. But for Jared Goff, I think that was the game where teams started to tee off on him, kind of figured him out, and everything like that. And I think this Bears team, now that they've added Robert Quinn, I believe that they're going to be a lot better this season. So I have the Bears winning here on the road, even though they were embarrassed in Los Angeles last year. Then the Rams have to go on the road to play the Miami Dolphins. And again, this is where I feel like the momentum's just going to start catching up to them. With a bye week looming, I see the Rams kind of just not being able to follow through. I think this Dolphins team is going to be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. So I have them losing 3 consecutive games heading into the bye week in week 9. So now you got an opportunity to regroup. The Rams playing host to the Seahawks in week 10. I have the Rams taking that one. But in week 11, they got to go across the country, Monday Night Football, under the lights to take on Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I remember the last time Tom Brady played the Rams in a huge game. It didn't work out well for the Rams, so I got them losing that one. And once they start dropping these games, I feel they'll lose the home game to the San Francisco 49ers, who I just believe is a better team. The Arizona Cardinals win a home game over them. And then in week 14, they got to play host to the New England Patriots. And again, Bill Belichick kind of solved Sean McVay in the Super Bowl. Again, it's Jared Stidham, and it's not Tom Brady, and it's a little bit different. But the one thing that's always consistent is that Bill Belichick is a genius, and that he knows how to stop these wonderkin coaches. So I have the Patriots winning that one, but the Rams get a win back. They beat the New York Jets in week 15. There's a possibility. This is a very similar situation they were in last year, where they were 8-5, and then they started losing a couple inexplicable games. But then they just they just kept blowing these opportunities to get back into the mix, and that will happen week 16 on the road at Seattle. I have them losing that game and then winning the finale in week 17 against the Arizona Cardinals. So my final verdict is that the Rams will finish 7-9. They will miss the playoffs for the second consecutive year. And I'm still a big believer in Sean McVay, but if you've looked at some of the moves that they've made over the last couple of years, they've gotten rid of a lot of draft picks. They've tried to bring in a lot of big name guys Jalen Ramsey, players like that. But when you look at the losses on defense and you look at the losses, and I know this Rams team over the last number of years continues to have kind of a revolving door, and they always find a way to make it work. But I feel like it's finally going to start catching up to them right here. And I think losing Wade Phillips is a bigger loss than a lot of people are going to be giving him credit for. I think that even with Brandon Staley as the new defensive coordinator, I think there's still a lot of questions for this Rams team. And if they were in any other division, I think they could probably make a run towards a divisional crown. But I think when you have the 49ers and the Seahawks, who are just two teams who are better than they are, I think this is going to be a tough road for the Rams. So I've got them at 7-9, third place in the NFC West. Time now for the Seattle Seahawks, 11-5 last year. They open up on the road against the Atlanta Falcons, a team that could be looking to rebound from their 7-9 season. But to me, the Falcons still have some questions on the offensive line, even though they've invested heavily and defensively. So I have the Seahawks winning on the road there. Week 2, even though the Seahawks could be looking ahead, because in Week 2, they play host to the New England Patriots. And of course, if Marshawn Lynch is still playing for the team, it's going to be a circus, and everybody's going to want to look at that play over and over again. And Russell Wilson is going to have to hear about that interception. The Seahawks are going to go out and destroy the Patriots in this game because they are just not going to want to hear that. I think if there is ever a game, like, first of all, you have a Pete Carroll revenge game. You got a Russell Wilson revenge. Like, Marshawn Lynch might score 6 scrimmage touchdowns. Who knows? So I got the Seahawks winning there. And you could see them having a little bit of a lull the following week against the Dallas Cowboys. But I have the Seahawks winning this one again. Like last year, the Seahawks were very good at the beginning of the season. It really wasn't until the end of the year where they lost 3 out of their last 4 where they really started to stumble. But I have the Seahawks knocking off the Dallas Cowboys because it's a home game for the Seahawks. And then, you know what? You win 2 huge games over the Patriots, over the Cowboys. You go on the road. You lose a game to the Dolphins, which seems inexplicable. But you're trying to figure out, and you're trying to see the trends. You're like, well, 2 huge victories, it only stands to reason. You drop one, but you're 3-1 at this point, playing host to the Vikings, who you should knock off. The Vikings, probably a little inflated last year, so I like the Seahawks in this one. You got the bye week. You return, you go on the road to play the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not completely convinced that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be this year's San Francisco 49ers, but they should be good enough to win this game, especially since Seattle, even though they're coming off a bye week, are going to be looking ahead to their Week 8 matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. They're still a little bit bitter about the way the Week 17 game ended, the way the game against the Packers ended in the playoffs, didn't get a chance for the rematch in the NFC Championship game, so I got the Seahawks winning this game at home against the 49ers. And then the following week, Week 9, the Seahawks on the road against the Buffalo Bills. Now, I know this seems like a game the Seahawks should lose, especially if they come off a huge win against the San Francisco 49ers, but the Seahawks were excellent on the road last season. One of the few teams that had 7+ road wins, so I got the Seahawks winning on the road here, but following that, going on the road to play the LA Rams, they drop that one. Then Week 11 against the Arizona Cardinals, they get one back from their loss earlier in the season to the Birds. And speaking of Birds, Week 12, a marquee matchup on Monday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles. These 2 teams obviously met up in the playoffs last year. Both teams beset by injuries. The Seahawks emerged victorious. This time around, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Week 13, the Seahawks kick off a 2-game homestand against the New York teams. I have the Seahawks beating the Giants and the Jets before losing to the Washington Redskins in Week 15. They just have these games. And I know that last year a lot of it was because of injuries, but I do believe that there's that one game where they kind of overlook somebody, they get tripped up. This year it'll be against the Washington Redskins, but they follow it up with a win over the Rams in Week 16, and then Week 17 in a huge game against the San Francisco 49ers. Although, this one could possibly determine the division. I have the 49ers winning at home, even though Seattle won on the road last year. They split. Differences this time, they hold serve at home. And I look at the Seahawks team. They have made the playoffs in 7 of their last 8 seasons, 8 of their last 10 with Pete Carroll. I think this is a team that you look at every year and you just expect them to be a part of the playoffs. So I have the Seahawks finishing at 10-6 and making the playoffs this year as a second-place team in the NFC West. Time now for the San Francisco 49ers, who finished 3-13 last year. Oh, just kidding. We all know you guys finished 13-3. I looked like a chump. What about this season? Well, let's start off Week number 1, you guys play host to the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, I know everybody thinks the Cardinals won the offseason, but there is no way the 49ers are going to blow this game as long as everybody's healthy and ready to go. The 49ers should start off 1-0, and then you go on the road for back-to-back roadies at the Jets, at the Giants. There's a good chance the 49ers just stay on the East Coast. If there is a coach who can handle this, to me, it's Kyle Shanahan. And there is a possibility that the 49ers fall into a trap against one of these teams. The Jets could be good. The Giants could be good. But at this point, I'm not going to predict either one of those teams to knock off the 49ers. I have the 49ers winning both of those games on the road in New York. Then they come home in week 4 and you play host to the Philadelphia Eagles. And listen, you might be a better team than the Eagles. That is the debate we can have at the end of the season. But the thing is the back-to-back games, the situation of the schedule. I'm going to have the Eagles winning this one. I think the Eagles are very close to the 49ers in terms of talent. I think they're both very good teams, but playing back-to-back games on the road in New York, even if you're not traveling back and forth in between each game, that's a huge ask for me. So I'm going to say the 49ers drop that one, but you have 2 more home games to kind of make up for that schedule quirk. You got the Miami Dolphins, a team that you should handle. You have the LA Rams. I don't anticipate you guys losing a game to the Rams, especially with all the changes that Sean McVay is going through. They got rid of Wade Phillips, and so now it's kind of Sean McVay's team. I think that Kyle Shanahan is going to take care of the business. They lose one to the Eagles, but it doesn't matter. You beat the Rams, even though you've got a game against the New England Patriots looming. I don't think that this is going to be a situation where they look ahead, they fall into a trap against the Rams. And as a matter of fact, I think as you go to the East Coast in week 7 to play the New England Patriots in a Jimmy Garoppolo revenge game, I got the 49ers in this one as well. But week 8 is where it gets a little bit more tricky. You're on the road at Seattle. You won in Seattle last year to close out the season, but the thing is, coming off the road, playing New England, having an emotional win, especially one for Jimmy Garoppolo. He might not admit it. That's going to be a huge win for him. I think Seattle gets you in a little bit of a trap game there. You got the Green Bay Packers in week 9. I don't even know. Really? Really? The Packers, you embarrassed this team twice last year. And you know what they did? You embarrassed them so much, they went out and drafted Aaron Rodgers' replacement. Week 10, you're on the road in New Orleans. Last year, one of the most exciting games of the season. George Kittle was out there just crushing dudes. It was amazing. But I do believe that the Saints are going to be ready for you this time. This is going to be a huge game for the Saints. So I have you guys dropping that one as you go into the bye week. Week 12, you come out, you're on the road against the LA Rams. Again, I just don't think the Rams are on your level anymore. I think the Rams a couple of years ago, their opportunity is now really starting to close. They haven't had a first round pick in a couple of years. There's just too much turmoil there. So I got the 49ers in a win there. The Buffalo Bills, a lot of people are expecting them to win the AFC East. I got the 49ers handling them there. The Washington Redskins, okay, this could be a trap game because you got the Cowboys on the horizon. But if you think that Kyle Shanahan is going to lose a game to the Washington Redskins, that's just not going to happen. I don't care who the head coach is. I don't care what's going on. The 49ers win that game in a laugher. Week 15 on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. Again, these are 2 evenly matched teams. Last year, the Cowboys, the top-ranked offense, they were a top 10 defense. I think this is going to be a great match. This could be the game of the season. I got the Cowboys winning this one. No disrespect. I think the 49ers are going to end up being 5-3 on the road. But I think this is going to be one. This one's, when you're the team that everybody is looking for now, this is a different situation. Last year, you were able to fly under the radar a little bit. Richard Sherman was admonishing people, including me, to keep doubting you. Nobody's doubting you anymore. And I know the Cowboys are going to be ready. But in week 16, you beat the Cardinals. Again, everybody's expecting a huge year from the Cardinals, but I got the 49ers in this one. And in week 17, once again, finishing off with the Seahawks, there's no way you're going to get swept by them. So I have you guys knocking off the Seattle Seahawks. So 12-4, taking a step back. But I think really this team is probably better. You think about Jimmy Garoppolo. I know a lot of people wanted to bring in Tom Brady. That was ridiculous. Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback. Raheem Mostert is a good running back. Nick Bosa obviously is as good as advertised. And you might feel disrespected. You might feel that this team should be, that I should say 13-3 or 14-2, or you probably wish I would say 3-13 again. But here's the thing. To me, the 49ers are in a very similar situation to what the Chiefs were in last year. The Chiefs, 2 years ago, number 1 seed got knocked off in the AFC Championship game, then went out and won the Super Bowl. I think it behooves the 49ers to kind of just, all right, don't got to be the number 1 seed again and just kind of fly under the radar. People look at the Eagles and some of these other teams, and you come out and you have your best season ever. Even though record-wise it'll be different from last year, I think you'll be much better. So I got the 49ers first place, NFC West. Time now for the Arizona Cardinals, who were 5-10-1 last season, but now Cliff Kingsbury is in his second year as head coach. He's got Kyler Murray, he's got Larry Fitzgerald. Oh, he's got DeAndre Hopkins. What does that mean for this year? Well, let's take a look at the schedule. Starting in week 1 against the San Francisco 49ers, I think that it's fair to say that the Cardinals won the offseason, but they are not winning this game against the 49ers. I don't think there's going to be a Super Bowl hangover for the 49ers or anything like that. It's a tough draw right off the bat. But then you've got a couple of winnable games here for the Cardinals. You got the Washington Redskins. You should win that game, even though Ron Rivera should have that team competitive sooner rather than later. It's still going to be a little bit of a chore. Week 3, you've got the Detroit Lions, a team that you played host to in week 1 last year. You fell behind to them huge. You rallied. You forced the tie. This year, you end up getting the victory. Week 4, you're going to Carolina. You're playing Teddy Bridgewater and Matt Rule and that new regime there for the Carolina Panthers. I think there is an opportunity to get a win there. I have the Cardinals winning, starting the season 3-1. Everybody super hyped. Everybody is saying that this is the new power team. This is what we thought was going to happen, except then the following week, you're on the road against the New York Jets. And while this is a winnable game, having back-to-back East Coast trips, going to Carolina, then either coming back and then going to New York or else going from Carolina to New York, that's a lot to ask, especially for a young team like this. I got the Jets winning there in week 5. Week 6, I got the Dallas Cowboys, one of the best teams in the NFL. The top-ranked offense from last year, bringing in CeeDee Lamb, who is very familiar with Kyler Murray. I got the Cowboys winning that one. But once the Cardinals get back home in week 7, they got the Seattle Seahawks. They go into the bye week with 4 wins, which is pretty good. That's what you would want. That's what a lot of people are expecting here. But in week 9, you play host to the Miami Dolphins. You get a win there. All right, so now things are starting to work out. Things are moving for the Cardinals, although you got a very tough Buffalo Bills team in week 10. A lot of people anticipate the Bills to be the AFC East division winner. Not me necessarily, but a lot of people do. They were in the playoffs last year with 10 wins. I think the Bills come in and sneak out a win over the Cardinals in week 10. Now here's where the trouble starts to build. In week 11, you got to go on the road to play the Seattle Seahawks, a team that the Cardinals beat last year without Kyler Murray, but I don't think that that's going to happen again. I've got the Seahawks winning here in week 11. Week 12, you got to go on the road once again to play the New England Patriots. And even though Jarrett Stidham is the quarterback of the New England Patriots, I still believe that this Patriots team is still going to be very good because Bill Belichick is the coach of the Patriots. And you look at his house, it's a humble abode. It's not like the palace that Cliff Kingsbury lives in, but those are just houses. When you look at the houses of the NFL, it's the Patriots who live in the mansion, so I have them taking that one. Week 13, the Cardinals come back home. They beat the Los Angeles Rams there. I think, again, the Rams are going to have a little bit of trouble, and the Cardinals are an improved team. I think this is a good ball club, although here's the thing. The Cardinals once again have to go on the road in week 14 to play the New York Giants, a late season game out in the elements. That is a tough ask. You talk about going on the road to Seattle and New England, and now the third time in 4 weeks you're on the East, or the second time in 4 weeks you're on the East Coast playing the Giants. That's a tough ask. So I have the Giants winning that one. Danny Dimes gets a victory there. Week 15. This is, again, you've got back-to-back home games. The problem is they're back-to-back home games against the 2 best teams in the NFC. You got the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that I believe is going to be the number 1 seed. I think as long as they're healthy and ready to go, the Eagles should win that game. Week 16, the San Francisco 49ers. Last year was an exciting contest. Kenyon Drake came out, made a huge splash, and it was a fun game, but ultimately the 49ers won. And even though the 49ers are the team everybody's gunning for right now, I've got the 49ers winning this game, and then you go on the road. You've already got 6 wins. There's no shot at the playoffs. You show up to play the LA Rams. They end up winning that game. You end up 6-10. I know it's going to be a disappointing finish, and I know it's going to end up being a lot like what happened last year to the Cleveland Browns. As much fun as it is to take your second-year quarterback the former Heisman Trophy winner from Oklahoma, and you bring in a big name superstar, if you don't fix the offensive line, it's not going to work. And so I think the Cardinals have a lot of good things going for them. I'm very excited. They're going to be great games. And I think Cliff Kingsbury could be a good coach in this league, but you still got to shore up the offensive line. There's still some question marks, and you're still playing in one of the toughest divisions in football. So I think 6-10, not ideal, not what the Cardinal fans want, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and I think this team is moving forward. So it's disappointing. It's a disappointing number, but I think ultimately this is going to be a good team in the near future.